Hello, everyone. Welcome, one and all. I feel like a ringleader at the circus every time I open up here, but I guess that's kind of how you have to be because I want to welcome you all in to another episode or another spine number of Chasing Labels. I'm your host, Andrew Cabral, and this is spine number 172 of Chasing Labels. Um, yeah, we are back here once again. If you have not been with us before previously, we go over pretty much most of what's been announced in the world of boutique label home video over the last 2 week period or so, the previous 2 week period or so. Basically, it's just things that I'm interested in adding to my collection and things that you may be interested in adding to your collection or things that I just find interesting in general. So it's not everything, it's not all encompassing, but it is most of the big heavy hitters, the big headliners that if you are a movie collector and you pick up a lot of the boutique label stuff, chances are you'll find some things here that you are familiar with, or at least the labels you are familiar with. But we are here starting off a brand new calendar month, pretty much. It is September 2nd as of this recording. Yesterday was September 1st, and typically, we do these every 2 weeks or so, and we do them on Mondays. But since this Monday happened to fall on the first, it also happened to be Labor Day here in the United States, which is a holiday. Also, the first of every month. For those of you who are in the know in the boutique label world, you do know that Vinegar Syndrome and their partner labels drop a whole heck of a lot of announcements on the first of every single month. And I like to at least give myself some time to go through all of them, watch a few of them that I'm interested in, so I can then relay the information onto you guys here. Unfortunately, with it landing on the first, I didn't get much time to go over a lot of those things. So at least gave me a day and a night, or a night, yeah, a night and a day, pretty much to go over some stuff, watch as many of the movies as I could, but alas, not as much as I usually do. So once we get to the Vinegar Syndrome and partner label portion of the show, which will be at the very end, I will, it'll be a little bit shorter than usual just because I don't have a lot to say about things I really don't know about. But I will pick out some stuff that I'm interested in that looked interesting to me, and we'll get to that when we get to that. But first of all, let's do a little bit of some, I guess maybe not catching up, but a little bit of just some extra stuff here. The Chasing Labels merchandise store is up and running now on Etsy. I'm holding up the shirt here for those of you who are the audio listeners. I've been wearing it for the last several weeks on various Chasing Labels related shows, whether it's the main show here in Chasing Labels, or it is the Unwatched Pile or Movies Down Memory Lane, or stuff like that, just to get people to see, hey, we do have Chasing Labels t-shirts and merchandise that is available. Well, it's available now, at least. So if you go to Etsy.com and you type in Chasing Labels, you will find our stuff. It is under the title of B-Roll Bandits, because it's not only Chasing Labels merchandise like tote bags and mugs and t-shirts and whatnot, but it is other movie related themed stuff. There's different designs that Steven has cooked up, that he's done with some graphic designing and whatnot. So that's all available there. I'm assuming there's going to be a link attached here. If there isn't a link attached here already to this video, I will of course go in and attach it myself later on afterward. So I wanted to make sure to mention that now. I will be mentioning it probably at the end of the show as well. So if you do want a Chasing Labels t-shirt, Chasing Labels mug, a tote bag, if you want to carry stuff around in, it is available. There are some other designs, like I said, as well. There's a Michael Bay type of design shirt. There is a M. Night Shyamalan design shirt. There's a couple of other things on there, and then Steven is working on some other things as well. Right now, it's rather limited, just to kind of, get the ball rolling, if you will. You know what I mean? Just start out small. Things like we only really have t-shirts and not long sleeves or things like that. But we will, obviously expand as we go along with the Chasing Labels merchandise, the B-Roll Bandits merchandise. So Etsy.com, search for Chasing Labels, search for B-Roll Bandits, and our stuff will come up. We did post in the group on Facebook. If you are in the group on Facebook, we posted the kind of promotional thing for that. We did it also on the Chasing Labels Instagram. There's a is a promo for the shop on there as well. Um, so yeah, so it's around. I'll mention it again, um, towards the end of the show, but also some other housekeeping things. So a little bit of a collection update. Not much. The 2 weeks go by really, really fast, really fast, especially the last couple of months. The 2 week intervals in between each Chasing Label show goes by in a flash to me. Like I feel like I was just here doing this, so it doesn't give me a whole lot of time to do much of anything. But of course, I do a little bit of collecting here and there. So there is currently going on as of September 2nd. It's still going on at Barnes and Noble, whether it's barnesandnoble.com or Barnes and Noble, their brick and mortar stores. There is a 50% off Arrow sale that is going until the 14th of September of 2025. So if you're listening to this in the future, chances are you may have missed out on it. But if you're currently listening to this or watching this, there is a sale going on at Barnes and Noble, 50% off of Arrow titles, US Arrow titles. And I think Amazon's price matching it as well. But if you have a Barnes and Noble store, give them your business and whatnot. Or if you want to go to barnesandnoble.com, for me, they shipped very, very fast. But I got 2 titles to start things off, and I've talked about these here on Chasing Labels coincidentally. First up here is Cobra, the 4K UHD release of Cobra. This is the film starring Sylvester Stallone. It's his 80s cop action movie. I talked about this when it was announced. I was super excited, and I'm glad to finally have it in the collection. I have Cobra on its original cheap Blu-ray release that I think I got when it was on sale in a bargain section at one point. So it's going to be a massive upgrade from that old Blu-ray to this 4K here. And now there is a special edition of Cobra from Shout Factory slash their Shout Select series. Actually, it's not Scream. It's their Shout Select series. I believe it got a collector's edition of it, and I think many of those special features did get ported over to here. Plus, you get the 4K restoration done by Arrow themselves, and Arrow does a pretty good job with their restorations and with their encoding. That is the one thing that they do have an advantage of when it comes to comparing their 4K releases to other 4K releases or their Blu-ray releases to other Blu-ray releases of the same film. Their encodings tend to be better, so the movies do look, ever so slightly better. But this is the 4K release of Cobra. Slipcover, standard slipcover, standard 4K UHD black case with, details on the back, and I believe it's a 1-disc edition. Yeah, it's a 1-disc edition, which is par for the course for Arrow recently when it comes to their 4Ks. You do get some extra goodies inside, like a poster and a booklet, I believe. Let's see if I can take that out. Just why not? Yeah, here's the booklet. For those of you listening to the audio, you really can't see it. The booklet has a pair of scissors and a piece of pizza. If you don't know, there's a scene in this movie where Sylvester Stallone cuts a piece of pizza with scissors, and it's kind of iconic because it's so odd. I've never seen anybody really do that before. So you get a booklet here, and then you get a poster, which I think has reversible art. Yes, it does. I won't unfold the whole thing, but here's the cover art. Then on the back, it goes flying. And on the back, it goes, it's got a new original art, which is it's literally a Cobra. I guess I am going to open it up fully. So you get new original art plus original poster art as well. So you can display that any way you like. I typically don't like to display them. I think there's a reversible sleeve too. Yes, there is. You do get new cover art on one side and then the original poster art on the other side. So all apropos, all stuff we've come to expect from Arrow so far. So let me put that back. And then I do have another one here, which is not even an upgrade for me. It's a first-time buy in general. I've never owned this movie at all. This is the William Friedkin film Cruising, starring Al Pacino. Now, this is the movie that's been released on Arrow on Blu-ray for many, many years, and probably many of you have it in your collection, but this is the 4K UHD upgrade release of it. It is a 2-disc edition, so it's got a standard... Well, actually, it's a thicker edition. So it's got a slip cover, which has just a black cover with Al Pacino's face in black and white. And then on the back, it's got a list of all of the details. And then you've got a typical thick limited edition case that Arrow likes to use. I guess I'll bring this out. I only have like 3 movies to show. That's why I'm going in depth with it. So you get this certain cover art here. Let me see if it's reversible. It's got to be reversible. It's a limited edition. Yep. And then you get other artwork on the other side as well. So you get, I think you get original plus the new artwork. Yeah. Or something like that. Probably should have looked these things up. I talked about all of this when it was announced, but yeah, it's a 2-disc edition. Get the 4K UHD, which has the feature plus extras, and then you've got just a disc of extras. So this is a pretty loaded set from Arrow, and I'm glad I waited because I've been circling getting the Blu-ray for many years. The issue why I never bought it is because I was trying to get it with the slipcover. I'm a slipcover fanatic. What can I say? Um, that's just the way I am. And the slipcover for that original Blu-ray of Arrow of Cruising went out of print very fast and was really hard to find. Well, hard to find affordably, I should say. You could find it on eBay, but it was very expensive, and I'm not going to pay an exorbitant amount of money literally just for the slipcover because you could buy the movie at any point. But here you get a little, I think it says Cruising, screenplay by William Friedkin from the novel by Gerald Walker. And this is the booklet, which I think is various parts of the screenplay. It's not the whole screenplay, obviously, but that's kind of a cool little touch. But yeah, that is Cruising, the William Friedkin film that I've never owned up until now. I've seen the movie. Interesting, you do not. Oh, here's the fold-out poster. I was wondering where the fold-out poster was. Yeah, you get a big, thick booklet, super thick booklet, and then you get a fold-out poster. So let me put all of that back, and then I'll get into, ironically, not even the biggest thing that I got in terms of both price and, I guess, acquisition. Hold on. I forgot to put the little insert back in. I got to take everything back out. There was a little insert in here for Trick or Treat. They're going to be upgrading their version of Trick or Treat, which I think they've already announced at this point. So it's a little irrelevant, but whatever. I like to keep everything as original as possible when it comes to a release. So let me slip that slipcover back over. And then last but certainly not least, what I picked up over the last 2 weeks is something I actually was highly anticipated getting. It's probably one of my most anticipated releases of the year, and that is the second sight release of The Nice Guys, the 4K UHD release. Which is super nice. I mean, if you've ever had a second sight release in your collection, they're limited edition specifically. You know how nice they are. I mean, I know everybody's budgets are different and everybody's shelf space is different. I know mine is. But if you have the opportunity to at least get a couple of these in your collection, they're worth the money. They really are. They're a little expensive depending on where you buy from. I bought this from diabolicdvd.com, but of course Orbit DVD has it, Grindhouse Video has it. But if you want to save some money on importing things, get it from a US company like those guys. But this is such a nice release. Not only is the movie fantastic, it's the Shane Black, Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling starring like neo noir set in the 70s. Really fantastic film. If you haven't seen this movie yet, I highly recommend it. It's honestly one of the best movies of the last, I would say, decade and a half. So last 15 years. Really a great film. Super underrated too. It didn't do very well at the box office when it came out, hence why we've never gotten a sequel from it, which is unfortunate because a movie that is a buddy cop neo-noir set in the 70s, it does lead, you can make sequels from that. I mean, heck, there's a whole buddy cop subgenre, if you will. But yeah, this is an elite release. You get a bunch of postcards here. You get a literally thick hardcover book. Like, this is legitimate. You can hear it knocking here on my microphone. Beautiful artwork too. And then of course you've got the movie on 2 discs. Got a 4K UHD disc and then a Blu-ray disc. Unfortunately, when it comes to Second Sight, their Blu-rays are region locked, but the 4Ks obviously are not. 4K is still pretty much entirely region free for the most part. There are some 4Ks that are region locked, but they're very few and far between. So this is definitely one of my favorite releases of the year. This is one of my most anticipated releases of the year, and it's pretty much holding up uh, to expectations. Yeah, I've got to get some more of these second sight limited editions. I'm a little bit behind. There's a few I still need to get that I've been looking at. Um, yeah, I'm just looking over on my shelf to see. Yeah, It Follows is definitely one I still want to get. I've been still wanting to get. Um, oh, so much, so much. I like the Innkeepers just came out. Talk to Me, which I think came out earlier this year. I've been wanting to get. Um, Yeah, there's so many of them. But anywho, I decided to get Nice Guys before it sold out. 'Cause I know it was very popular when it was announced. It was very popular when it was released. People were buying them up, scooping them up. And I know that Diabolic didn't have very many of these left. And I don't know if Albert DVD still has them or not, but if you want that, I suggest get it when you as soon as you can. So that is it for in terms of those little housekeeping updates. Let's dive into what we come here to do on Chasing Labels. We come here to talk about announcements. There have been quite a few announcements over the last 2 weeks or so. I say that, and yet there haven't really been a lot. So let's dive into one of the earliest ones. So our buddies over at Indicator Powerhouse, or yeah, Indicator Powerhouse. I don't know why I call them that. It's power because it's powerhousefilms.co.uk, but it's Indicator. Our buddies over at Indicator, they're putting out a new box set, a new Columbia Noir box set. This is Columbia Noir #7, made in Britain. So we've got British Noir, if you will, British Noir. These films all primarily are from the 1950s. Yes, they are. Excuse me. They are all from the 1950s, and it's a box set of 6 films. It's A Prize of Gold, The Last Man to Hang, Wicked as They Come, Spin a Dark Web, The Long Haul, Fortune is a Woman, and that's it. And yeah, like I said, they're all from the 1950s. I've I was fortunate enough to get to watch all of these because this was announced literally, I think, the next day after the last episode. So I was able to dive into all of this. And yeah, this is coming out November 17th. And for those of you, oh, I have I have volumes. Trying to look at my Columbia Noir sets. Thought I had volume. I do have volume one. What am I looking at? Yeah, I have most of. Okay, I'm just looking up at my shelf because I have some on the shelf and I have some in another spot. That's what happens when you have things somewhat unorganized. You lose track of things when you need them the most. But I do have one, two, three, four, five, and six. So I do have one, two, three, four, five, and six, and they do have two Universal Noir box sets that I do not have yet, which I still need to get. The thing is with Universal Noir, those films have been released quite a few times by a couple of different companies. If you know the Kino film noir box sets, uh, a lot of those movies in those sets are Universal films. I think in Australia, I want to say Imprint's done a couple of their own noir sets too, and those were Universal films. So there's a lot of what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of um, double dipping going on, a lot of overlap when it comes to movies and titles and stuff like that, specifically with Universal noir films. Universal is notorious for the last forever when it comes to shelling out their back catalog to different boutique labels. They've been doing that for a long time. But anywho, let's get into this Columbia Noir #7. Um, let's see. Let me just read a little bit of what they've said here. Hollywood legends including Richard Widmark, Victor Mature, and Arlene Dahl meet the cream of British talent, including Diana Dors and Jack Hawkins and Christopher Lee, in Columbia Noir #7, Made in Britain, a collection of 6 film noir tales from 5 major directors: Mark Robson, who did The Harder They Fall, Terence Fisher, The Gorgon. Terence Fisher is a Hammer uh, director. He's done so many iconic Hammer films, Hammer horror films, or just Hammer films in general, so you'll know his name. Ken Hughes, who directed Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, Vernon Sewell, who directed Burke and Hare, and Sidney Gilliatt, who directed Endless Night. Across the six films in this box set, a disaffected soldier hijacks a plane in order to pull off a gold bullion heist. A man faces the death penalty for his wife's death. A beauty queen stops at nothing in her rise to the top. A luckless boxer is lured into a world of mob violence by a femme fatale, classic. An American GI battles mobsters in Glasgow and Liverpool. And an insurance man's chance encounter with an ex-lover leads to arson, blackmail, and, of course, murder. That's a big thing in film noir. This essential six disc collection contains 3 Blu-ray world premieres, 3 Blu-ray UK premieres, and features an array of fascinating contextualizing extras, including newly recorded commentaries, critical appreciation, rare archival short films, and a 120-page book strictly limited to 6,000 individually numbered units. So yeah, it's a massive box set, and they do their box sets really, really well. Indicator does great box sets. Severin does great box sets. Um, yeah, a bunch of companies do really, really good box sets. Radiance does really good box sets. That reminds me that I've got a Radiance box set coming to me in the mail soon. Basically, I got an idea of what I want to do with my Radiance collection in terms of showing you guys it. Because I've talked about them so much over the last several months and years, really. Coincidentally, they're going to be having a new monthly announcement tomorrow, which will be the 3rd of September. So look out for that. But my goal is to get like their first 50 titles, 1 through 50, because they're each numbered. And then that'll be kind of the goal I want to reach, to then kind of show off all of the Radiance titles that I have, because I have a whole like shelf area just dedicated to them. Putting them in order, 1, 2, etc., etc. They have well over 100 titles now. So they're coming up on, yeah, I'm gonna say they're gonna be starting another year of putting out Radiance titles. I think they've already got almost 2-3 years in the bag in terms of Radiance titles. So yeah, got some catching up to do, and then I want to do like a big old like Radiance collection video so far of what I have. But I want to fill in some holes first, basically. But they do really good box sets, and so does, like I said, Indicator does as well. So you have a high definition presentations of A Prize of Gold, The Last Man to Hang, Wicked as They Come, Spin a Dark Web, The Long Haul, and Fortune is a Woman. 2 presentations on Fortune is a Woman with the original UK title sequence, and As She Played with Fire with the US titles. Original mono audio commentary with film historians Thurza Wakefield and Melanie Williams on A Prize of Gold, audio commentary with writers Barry Forshaw, Kim Newman on The Last Man to Hang, audio commentary with academic and curator Eloise Ross on Spin a Dark Web, audio commentary with film historians Will Fowler and Vic Pratt on The Long Haul, audio commentary with film historians Kevin Lins, I guess it Lins, and Jonathan Rigby on Fortune is a Woman. Golden Opportunity is an archival interview with clapper worker Jeff Glover, who fondly recalls his work on his first ever film, A Prize of Gold. Wow, that's a heck of an archival interview there. That's from 2024. The BEHP interview with Bill Luthwaite, an archival video recording made as part of the British Entertainment History Project, featuring the editor of A Prize of Gold in conversation with Glyn Jones. The BEHP interview with Anthony Mendelsohn, archival audio recording featuring the Fortune is a Woman costume designer in conversation with Linda Wood and Dave Robson. Wow, we have another BEHP interview with Maxwell Seton, archival audio recording featuring the producer of Wicked as They Come and The Long Haul in conversation with John Lagarde and Dave Robson. The BEHP interview with Vernon Sewell, archival audio recording featuring the Spin a Dark Web director in conversation with Roy Fowler. There's a Guardian lecture with Eva Montague. Film Fanfare number 5 from 1956, which is a newsreel presenting a lucky competition winner visiting the set of The Last Man to Hang. Lies Lankman on a Prize of Gold, In-Depth Appreciation by the Academic and Film Historian. A Test for Love, a dramatized short from 1937, The Little Ship. Um, uh, it says, Fortune is a woman star. Jack Hawkins narrates this documentary about the UK's first nuclear weapons test. How random is that? Wow. That's there's a ton of features on here. Then there's the 120-page book, which has a list that goes on forever of who's doing stuff in it. I can't read all this, but needless to say, this is another one of their massive, box sets. Their Columbia Noir box sets, which are really, really good. And we haven't gotten one in a little while. I don't think we've got one since last year, since 2024. I have it too. Columbia Noir #6. Hold on, let me get it. Here it is, Columbia Noir #6. It was the Whistler. Yeah, it was the Whistler. And this was the first time that they had switched over from doing the regular Blu-ray cases, like the thicker, more normal Blu-ray cases, to the thin packs, which some people had a little bit of an issue with. I really didn't. I really didn't. The quality when it comes to these sets is the material that's in it. The movies are good, but the overall construction is still, solid as a rock. Solid as a rock. Um, and when it comes to these movies, like I said, I did get to see them all. They're all fine. All of these movies, Columbia Noir #7, Made in Britain, all of these movies are all kind of fine. They're all like, to me, they're like 3.5. If you want to go with like a letterbox score, they're all in that range. They're not stupendous. They're not amazing. They're not like some of the staples of the film noir genre. But they're fine. They're fine in my opinion. But this box is still definitely worth picking up just for the extras alone. There's just massive amounts of them. And this is, let me check for a second. It is Region B locked. That is the one thing with these Columbia Noir box sets from Indicator. They've all been, I think, Region B locked. Yeah, even the Whistler was Region B locked. And I'm fascinated who owns the rights to the Whistler in the US. I have no idea who does it, who does, because if so, they haven't really done anything with those rights. I can tell you that. But yeah, let me put this aside. So that is it from Indicator. They only had one announcement. They only had one announcement for a new title. The rest are stuff that they are just doing standard editions of and whatnot. So that is it for Indicator, and that is coming out November 17th, I believe, was the um the date on that. Let me see what I have continuing in my notes. Why not? Let's go over to Umbrella because I just happen to have the tab open. So Umbrella has 6 announcements that they dropped. Lake Mungo, Angel's Egg, Quest for Fire, G.I. Samurai, also known as Time Slip, Bambi the Reckoning, and Dust Devil. So Dust Devil is getting a 4K release not only from Umbrella, but they're also getting a 4K release from Kino as well. That was one of the Kino announcements that we're going to go over later too. But let's get into these releases a little bit. I did get to see all of them except for Bambi the Reckoning. The reason being is I kind of don't have any interest in it. I'll be frank. I'll be honest with you guys. These Disneyfied horror movies that they're doing are not very good. They're not very good to the point where like I don't really care about them. I did watch the first one, which was what was it, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, or something like that. It was literally the worst movie of the year it came out to me, that I watched, and I was just like, I can't donate more of my time to this, specifically for here on Chasing Labels, where I'm so pressed for time when it comes to being able to watch as many of these as I can, depending on when they drop. Excuse me, depending on when they drop. You gotta make some cuts here and there, some tough cuts, but I did get to watch the other ones, and so I'll talk about those. Let's talk about Lake Mungo. Lake Mungo, this is not the first time this movie's received a release. This movie received a release a several years ago. I wanna say, was it Arrow that put it out? Let's see. I think it was. Let's see. No, Second Sight, my bad. Second Sight put out a limited release in I think 2021, and then put out a standard release in 2022. Yep, I remember because we talked about it. This was the early days of chasing labels. Yeah, because this is we started chasing labels in I think March of 2021, and this came out in June of 2021. So we must have talked about it. Um, Perhaps, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'm just making things up now. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Either way, Lake Mungo does have a second site released that's been available for 4 years now. But now we're getting another Lake Mungo release from Umbrella. And let's see, an essential Australian horror heralded as masterpiece and atmosphere, only available from Umbrella Web Store. You get the Lake Mungo Collector's Edition. So once again, in Umbrella fashion, you get like their web store exclusive deluxe edition, collector's edition rather, with a bunch of extra stuff, or you can just get like the regular edition. So new, Lake Mungo Revisited, a 3-hour retrospective featuring the cast and crew of Lake Mungo, a 100-page hardback book featuring behind-the-scenes content and essays, a 100-page softback book featuring original shooting script. That's kind of cool. Matt's Photos, a scrapbook of Matthew Palmer's photography, custom artwork, rigid case designed by Time Tomorrow, custom artwork slipcase designed by Time Tomorrow, eight art cards plus a reversible poster, limited edition numbered release. Um, yeah, so Lake Mungo is an interesting movie. So 16-year-old Alice Palmer drowns while swimming in a local dam. When her body is recovered and the verdict of a accidental death is returned, her grieving family buries her. The family then experiences a series of strange and inexplicable events centered in and around their home, profoundly unsettling. The Palmers seek the help of a psychic who discovers that Alice led a secret double life. A series of clues lead the family to Lake Mungo, where Alice's secret past emerges. Directed by Joel Anderson. So this movie is a mockumentary. It's a horror mockumentary, uh, found footage esque mockumentary. It's in within the found footage subgenre of horror, and it's a movie that people have known of for years. I think people in the horror community are well aware of Lake Mungo. Some people love this movie. If you go on the Letterbox, there are people who think this is a masterpiece, and there are people who think it's kind of boring and don't really vibe with it at all. And then there are people who are like me, who are kind of right in the middle, who think the movie is kind of good for what it's going for. This movie is less so about being scary, and it's more so about being atmospheric, but it's also more so about exploring the process of grief within this family than it is being like a ghost story. There is like there's spooky things in it. Like there will be photographs where you'll see like a figure in the background. Oh, what is that? There will be like creepy things happening, like doors opening uh by themselves, or sounds coming out of nowhere. Paranormal activity stuff. We know these things. Um, so the movie has that type of atmosphere around it. To me, where the film I think lacks for me is the interview sequences with the family is lacking a little bit in like emotion and passion of the situation. I guess it's a family dealing with grief from the perspective more of being in shock rather than being overly emotional. There are some people who process grief very differently. There are people who are incredibly outward, incredibly emotional, crying and yelling and screaming and all that kind of stuff. Then there are people who process grief internally. Everything is inside. All their emotions are all inside. They're quiet. They're still. They're kind of look off into the distance, if you will. You know what I mean? There's different ways to process grief. So this movie's kind of exploring that in a way. Uh, I would say people check it out if you haven't seen it already and you're into kind of the found footage subgenre, because I think it's a staple of that. If you like Paranormal Activity, like I just said, if you like the Blair Witch Project being the most notorious one, if you're into all of that stuff, definitely check this out. I know our good friend Sarah Appleton did a documentary, found footage phenomenon, um, all about the found footage subgenre, and I believe Lake Mungo was mentioned in it. So that is a Lake Mungo. Let me let's see. Yeah. Oh, there's also a ton of special features here. I didn't even mention. I mentioned all the store exclusive ones, but then there's also a whole bunch of other ones here too. Hold on. Let's see. There's an audio commentary with critic and filmmaker Chris Stuckman. Hours of never before seen footage, including behind the scenes rushes and auditions and rehearsals. Found footage, a selection of scenes from early cuts of Lake Mungo featuring never before seen footage and alternate edits. The original Lake Mungo mood reel with an introduction from producer George Neville and cinematographer John Brawley. Uh, New Dead Girl Rise, Alexandra Helen Nicholas on the ancestors and legacy of Alice Palmer. The legacy of Lake Mungo interviews with filmmakers including Justin Kurzel, Mike Flanagan, Eduardo Sanchez, David Dastmalchian, and more. Wow. This is a loaded release. Really loaded release. And let me go over to quickly see if I can check out the special features release of, yeah, there it is. It looks like, I'm just looking at these special features over on the old Second Sight release from 2021, and it seems like the Umbrella release has all new features. Except there's an audio commentary by producer David Rapsey and cinematographer John Brawley, and then there's deleted scenes. I think those are the only two that carry over. So this is an entirely new set of features. Yeah. Yes, it is. Holy heck. I was gonna say, if you have the old Second Sight release, you may want this one too if you're a big fan of the movie. Like I said, this movie's a bit of a modern day cult classic. By modern day, I think it came out in 2008. That's modern day to me. But moving on from Lake Mungo, let's move over to Angel's Egg. This is a fascinating animated film. Very fascinating. These are all coming out in December, by the way. These are Umbrella's December releases. So only available from the Umbrella web store. You got the Angel's Egg Collector's Edition, which includes 48-page booklet of behind-the-scenes material and new essays, original artwork rigid case, original artwork slipcase, limited edition numbered release. Let's see how they describe this movie. This movie is kind of indescribable. In a submerged city, a young girl continues to care for a large egg that she holds preciously in her arms. She believes it is the egg of an angel. A boy with a huge gun alights from a peculiar chariot. He is in search of the bird he saw in his dream. In an abandoned city, it seems as if a faint sense of sympathy has developed between the two. Okay, this is an absurdly ambiguous description here. The movie is absurdly ambiguous too. This is directed by Mamori Oshii, and this movie is very much a fever dream. There's not a lot of explanation as to what's happening. There's not a lot of explanation as to plot or story. There's really not much of a story or a plot. I would even say it's not even much of a mood picture. It's so unique. And the movie could be about so many different things. And I don't even think the director knows what this movie's about. It's one of those type of super experimental films where no one really knows what it's about. You can kind of, whatever you make up may in fact be the truth. But the extras, other than what I just mentioned, there's a new audio commentary with horror cinema writer Amber T. New The Influence of Angel's Egg with anime expert Andrew Osmond. And there's a new special feature, The Hatching of an Animation Classic, critic and author Jasper Sharp on Angel's Egg. New in conversation with Mamori Oshii, which was a Toronto International Film Festival Q&A. It just excerpts from that. So that is Angel's Egg. It is a kind of a profound experimental film that if you're into avant-garde cinema, if you're into avant-garde animated cinema, this may be for you. Next, we have Quest for Fire, another kind of experimental movie, and I'll get into the reason why. So, winner of an Oscar for Best Makeup, this prehistoric adventure only available from the Umbrella Web Store. Quest for Fire Collector's Edition includes 48-page booklet, custom designed rigid case using original artwork, custom designed slipcase using original artwork, custom designed book using original artwork, 8 art cards, reversible poster. So let's see how they describe this movie. Oh boy, not much of a description here. Set 80,000 years ago, the film follows a small tribe's desperate journey to rekindle the flame that sustains their survival. Directed by Jean-Jacques Anand. Sorry. Um, so this movie is, like I said, it's set 80,000 years ago. It stars Everett McGill and Ron Perlman. You'll recognize Ron Perlman right away in this movie. This movie has no dialogue in it, no spoken language that we know of. it's it's set with the characters are all cave people. They're all people who are early forms of humanity that are trying to survive in tribes, really. Very rudimentary, like I said, no real spoken language, and they don't even know how to make fire. They have a fire, and due to certain circumstances, the fire goes out, and they don't know how to reignite it, and they need the fire, or to them, the fire is sacred, or we're not really quite sure, other than it's important. And so, a group of 3 of these uh, people in this tribe, one of them being Ron Perlman, go out and try to find a way to figure out how to start a fire. To go to another tribe, to go to another place, whatever the case may be. And that's the plot of the movie. And like I said, there's no dialogue. You don't really know what they're saying to one another, how they're communicating, other than through mannerisms and emoting and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's kind of a fascinating experimental movie from that perspective. Let's see what we got for special features, shall we? Other than what I mentioned for the collector's edition, there's an audio commentary with film historian and podcaster Rob Kelly. New 2021 interview with director Jean-Jacques Annaud. I can't pronounce the name. It's Annaud. My French is failing me. Quest for Fire and the Flame of Knowledge with Bryn Tilley. Audio commentary with the director, commentary with actors Ray Dawn Chong, Ron Perlman, and producer Michael Kruskoff. Quest for Fire behind the scenes, photo gallery with director's commentary, and then a trailer. So that is Quest for Fire. Now this is getting, this is coming out in December. Let's see. I'm trying to see if this is a 4K or if this is just a Blu-ray. I think it's just a Blu-ray. Yeah, it's just a Blu-ray. So Lake Mungo was a 4K and Blu-ray. Angel's Egg was a 4K and Blu-ray. Quest for Fire is just a Blu-ray. And Quest for Fire came out in 1981. So that's a while ago. Obviously, 44 years? Yeah, 44 years ago. Then we go to G.I. Samurai, also known as Time Slip from 1979. Now, this is a fascinating movie. So G.I. Samurai or Time Slip is, you guessed it, a time travel movie. You guessed it. Let's see. The collector's edition has a 48-page booklet. That seems to be standard. Custom rigid slipcase, custom slipcase, 8 art cards, reversible poster. That's the general collector's edition modus operandi here. So, have you ever wondered how a tank would fare against an ancient army? Strap in for the action-packed, genre-bending spectacle G.I. Samurai, starring martial arts legend Sonny Chiba. That's the reason to watch this movie. That's the reason right there. So let me get to the description. So when a modern-day Japanese self-defense force platoon led by Lieutenant Yoshiaki Iba, Sonny Chiba, is mysteriously transported to Japan's Warring States era. They find themselves in a world of samurai, warlords, and endless conflict. For Iba, survival isn't enough. He sees a path to seize power, forging an alliance with a ruthless daimyo in a bid for supremacy. Directed by Kosei Saito. Um, Haruki Sanada's in the movie as well. But Sonny Chiba is the one you're here for. So it's a time travel movie where a modern day Japanese army force battalion with tanks and machine guns and everything get basically transported back to samurai times, to feudal Japan, where you've got all of these different warring factions and daimyos and all kinds of stuff and whatnot, and they kind of thrust themselves into it. Oh, screw the space-time continuum, forget about that nonsense. They don't care about those things. We're just here to forge alliances and kick ass. That's kind of what the movie is. But it's way more serious than that. It's a movie that takes itself, I would say, damn near too serious for the general premise. And it's a long movie too. This movie is about 2 hours and 18 minutes, a little too long. Like there are several points towards the end of this movie where I'm like, okay, we can end it now. Like everything is done, but no, they just keep pushing more and more stuff going on and on. So the movie is a bit lengthy. And yeah, it's an interesting, fascinating movie. Like I said, G.I. Samurai going back in time with tanks and machine guns to samurai times. Let's see what happens. So there's a new audio commentary with author Patrick Macias. New boy, I'm gonna butcher this. Jitageki with tanks, Jitageki with tanks, a conversation with G.I. Samurai screenwriter Toshio Kamata, interview with actor Sonny Chiba, Isao Natsuyaga, Hiromitsu Suzuki, Kamayatsu Monsieur, Jun Ito, and Isao Kureishi. And then there's an interview with tank owner E.G. Suzuki. Cool. I do want to see for a second if G.I. Samurai was included in any of the Sonny Chiba box sets that we've been getting. I don't think it has not, no. Because I know that Shout Factory had put out 2 Sonny Chiba box sets, and I don't think it's in either of those. It's not. Okay. Just checking. Just curious. So that is G.I. Samurai. Let's see. We're gonna skip over Bambi the Reckoning because like I said, I have no interest in it. Let's go to Dust Devil because this is kind of a fascinating movie. And this movie is getting a bunch of different kind of versions of different collector's editions. You can get a collector's. So the movie is directed by Richard Stanley. So they are. So you can buy a. You can buy. You can get like a multi-movie pack of like Dust Devil and Hardwire, and I think Colors Out of Space. So you can get all 3 of them, or you can get just Hardwire and Dust Devil. You can get like ones with T-shirts and collector's items, and there's a bunch of different options here you have. But just for our intensive purposes, let's go with just this collector's edition here that we're going to talk about. So only available from the Umbrella web store, Dust Devil 4K Collector's Edition includes 100-page hardbound book, a 100-page softbound book with that's the script and storyboards and stuff like that. You got custom designed books using pre-production artwork and posters, custom designed rigid slipcase, custom designed slipcase, exclusive custom T-shirt design, and you can choose which size you want there, small through all the usual sizes. It's got small through 4XL, so plenty of options. 8 art cards, reversible poster, limited number release. Excuse me. Let's see. Description. A nameless man hitchhikes the abandoned roads of an endless desert in search of death, sacrifice, and lost souls. The last police officer and a woman on the run from her husband must face the devil himself to make it out of the red-hot furnace alive. That is, Yeah, that's generally what the movie is about. Let me go over to my letterbox to see if there's a better description of Dust Devil than that. That's very ambiguous. Very ambiguous. The movie's more supernatural based than that. The movie is very much is all about like vibes and things like that. Huh. Yeah. So a woman on the run from her husband encounters a mysterious hitchhiker. Okay, that's not much of a description, but that's kind of generally what it is. The movie is very violent and very sexual. So if you're not into either of those things for whatever reason, this movie's definitely not for you. Also, like, so this hitchhiker is kind of like a demon. I know I may have just spoiled it a little bit. It's not really a spoiler. You get that right off the bat, right off the bat. So it's this supernatural entity demon things, and he's kind of murdering people along the way he's going, violently so. And so this movie's definitely not for the squeamish when it comes to violence. Um, and then there's this woman who is escaping an abusive relationship, and she's on the run herself. There's this cop who is investigating these kind of hitchhiker murders, if you will. So there's a lot of things kind of going on here, but the movie is less so about plot, more so about vibes and energy, and the aesthetic in this movie is gorgeous. Like you get a lot of great shots of the Australian outback and the Australian natural, you know, landscape, if you will. Really, really nice. And like in the movie, like I said, it's more about vibes than anything. And there's some horror aspects to it. Like I said, it's a fascinating movie. You can tell made on a relatively low budget. I believe it's his Richard Stanley's follow up to Hardware, and Hardware was done on the shoestring of shoestring budgets. You could kind of tell. Um, yeah, so if you're into Richard Stanley's work, or if you liked Hardware and you're curious what Richard Stanley did right after that, check out Dust Devil. Let's see what we have here for special features. Okay, there's a ton of stuff. Holy heck. Okay, so the first disc, which is the 4K disc, has the director's cut and the theatrical cut. Director's cut is 4K UHD Dolby Vision. Theatrical cut 4K UHD Dolby Vision. And then there's an exclusive 2025 audio commentary with writer director Richard Stanley. There's a new audio commentary with critics Bryn Tilley and Richard. I can't pronounce his name. Cuppers. Cuppers, I guess. 2006 audio commentary with writer director Richard Stanley, moderated by Norman Hill. A new director's cut original Dust Devil storyboard overlay. And then disc 2 is the Blu-ray disc, which has the director's cut on a 4K master, and a work print cut with an introduction by Richard Stanley. Exclusive exclusive commentary, like we just mentioned, and then exclusive director's cut original storyboard overlay. So that's all the stuff we just talked about. Then we have deleted scenes, making a featurette, interview with Richard Stanley, and then another audio commentary with Richard Stanley. And then Dust Devil 1984 16 millimeter short film trailer. Dust Devil 1984 16 millimeter short film behind the scenes gallery. Then there's a third disc. Okay, we're going to disc number 3. Oh my goodness. Um, and then disc number 3 is the theatrical cut on Blu-ray, and we've got theatrical cut from a 4K master, new Chaos Walking, Guy Davis on Dust Devil and the Dangerous Drifter in popular culture. 2006 interview with director Richard Stanley on The Secret Glory and White Darkness. The White Darkness 2002 documentary by Richard Stanley with commentary by Richard Stanley and Norman Hill and intro by Richard Stanley. The Secret Glory 2001 by Richard Stanley with commentary by Richard Stanley and Norman Hill and introduction by Richard Stanley. Goodness gracious. And then I don't know if this is part of, because like I said, there's a bunch of different collector's editions here. Um, then this particular edition here comes with Color Out of Space on Blu-ray. It's got the full feature plus a couple of extra features. But you can just buy Dust Devil by itself, and you don't have to buy, yeah, Dust Devil by itself, collector's edition. Like I said, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different types of editions that you can buy from the Umbrella store on their website, shop.umbrellaent.com.au. Uh, yeah, I'm saying the cheapest one is sold out, unfortunately, which has Dust Devil, Hardware, and Color Out of Space, um, which was the cheapest one. The second cheapest one, which just has Dust Devil on 4K Blu-ray plus Color Out of Space, is still in stock. I think that one, yeah, that one doesn't have a T-shirt. But it is a collector's edition. It comes with a 100 page hardback book, 100 page softback book, plus all the custom rigid cases and all that stuff. Um, and let me see. Yeah, and that one it's pretty much it's those 3 discs plus Color Out of Space. Okay. Yeah, go to their website and take a gander. Like I said, this is all very confusing and overwhelming to me. you can you can do all kinds of stuff here. Um, Hopefully I broke it down a little bit for you guys. I think to me, when it comes to collector's editions, when it comes to getting different things like t-shirts and swag and figurines and postcards and art cards and posters and all that stuff, to me, that stuff's cool. You know what I mean? That stuff's always cool. But to me, the on disc content is what I most prioritize. Like, is that up to snuff? Is that the good stuff? You know what I mean? And in this case, it looks like it is. We get a lot of stuff here. So that's the most important thing to me. The extra stuff is cool, but it's not my priority. But let's move on from Dust Devil. Hold on, I went the wrong direction on that one. Let's move on from Dust Devil. I think that's it. Yeah, we talked about Lake Mungo, Angel's Egg, Quest for Fire, G.I. Samurai, and Dust Devil. Okay, so that is it. That is it from Umbrella for December. Lake Mungo, Angel's Egg, Quest for Fire, G.I. Samurai, Bambi the Reckoning, if you care, and then Dust Devil. I am curious to see. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do this right now. I was going to say, I told you guys earlier that uh, Kino is putting out their version of Dust Devil on 4K. So I'm gonna go over to we'll do Kino next, and that'll be the first thing I talk about. Just to transition everything nice and smoothly, if you will. Because to be honest, over the last 2 weeks, Kino really didn't announce much of anything. It's mostly stuff that they've announced already and just gave us more details on, and that was about it. So the first thing they did announce was Dust Devil. Excuse me. Do not drink soda while you're doing this. You will get incredibly gassy. So Kino's version of Dust Devil is a 2 disc edition, 4K UHD disc, and then a Blu-ray disc, and it's coming out October 28th, so 2 months earlier than Umbrella's release. Let's see. The disc 1, the 4K UHD disc from Kino for Dust Devil, includes both the director's and theatrical cuts, brand new HDR Dolby Vision masters from a 4K scan of a 35mm original camera negative, new audio commentary by writer-director Richard Stanley for the director's cut, and that is it. Okay, and there's 5.1 and lossless 2.0 sound as well. Triple layered UHD 100 gigabyte disc. Let's see here. All right, so Kino's already down, down a bunch. Include and then disc 2, which is the Blu-ray disc for Dust Devil from Kino, includes both the director's and theatrical cuts. Brand new, like I said, just brand new HDR masters. New audio commentary by director Richard Stanley for the director's cut. Richard Stanley, Dust Devil, and Other Misadventures, 2006 interview. With contributions by composer Simon Boswell. Original storyboards, original Polaroids, original 16mm trailer. That's it. Okay, so holy hell. Okay, so Kino's release is vastly inferior just from a special features standpoint. The Umbrella release has way more features. Way more features. Now, the Umbrella release, let me just go back. Good thing I didn't exit out of it. I think it's probably going to be more expensive. I won't lie to you guys there. It'll probably be, $70 or $75 versus a standard Kino 4K release is about 30, about 20 usually 27.99 on places like Orbit DVD. So about 30, a little over 30 we figure with shipping and tax and whatnot. Um but let me just see. I just want They didn't mention anything. Oh, it does have Dolby Vision. Okay. So you get Dolby Vision with the Umbrella release as well. That's what I was checking on because I know some people uh, put a lot of importance into those things, into the HDRs. Um, yeah. So yeah, the Umbrella edition is way more. It's just it blows Kino out of the water. But if you don't want to spend that much, if you don't want to import, be honest, the Umbrella stuff you kind of have to do import for the most of the part, for most of the time, especially their collector's editions. Sometimes, not all the time, sometimes, because they are limited. They are rather limited. You tend to sell out. Sometimes they sell out in pre-order form, but you never know. But I just want to make sure you guys are aware that there are two different Dust Devil 4Ks coming out. One from Kino, one from Umbrella. The Umbrella one has many more special features. It's a 4 disc set, including Color Out of Space. The Kino set's only 2 discs, and it's got much less special features, much less. But let's move on and see what else Kino has coming. Like I said, not much. They're doing the Cat and the Canary. I think I talked about this last time because they had announced it coming October 28th. The Cat and the Canary, which is getting a 4K UHD release. Now I mentioned it before. Where did I put you? I don't even know where it is. You know what? I think it's in a stack I've got over here of horror films. I've got a stack of horror films I've got to put in my horror section. I think that's where I have my Eureka edition of The Cat and the Canary. But either way, we will press on. So this is The Cat and the Canary from 1927, 2 disc edition from Kino, 4K UHD disc, has a brand new brand new UHD SDR master by Photoplay, a 4K restoration from original nitrate prints, new audio commentary by film historian David Del Valle, um, and silent film expert Randy Haberkamp. New audio commentary by film historian Anthony Slide. Music score composed by Neil Brandt, conducted by Timothy Brock, and lossless 5.1 surround and lossless 2.0 audio. Disc 2, which is the Blu-ray, same restoration, same audio commentaries. But it has Rebus film number 1, 1925 short by Paul Lenny. And then the Cat and the Canary trailer from 1939. Interesting. That is it. Just for the sake of argument, let me check the Cat and the Canary from Eureka. Let's see. Bum, bum, bum. Okay, that's not what I was looking for. So Blu-ray.com has a terrible penchant for putting news stories about different releases under other releases. Throws me way, way off. Let's see. So the Cat and the Canary. So yeah, the audio commentaries are different. It's got a new video, and the Eureka one has 2 different audio commentaries. Mysteries Mean Dark Corners, a brand new video essay by David Cairns and Fiona Watson. Pamela Hutchinson on The Cat and the Canary, brand new interview with writer and film critic Pamela Hutchinson. Fong Lee on The Cat and the Canary, brand new interview with film critic Fong Lee. And then it has A Very Eccentric Man and Yeah, a Cat extracts from John Willard's original play. Lucky Strike, Paul Lenny gives a full-throated endorsement to the product and got him through filming The Cat and the Canary. So, yeah, the Eureka special features are entirely different. But the Eureka edition is just a Blu-ray. It's not a 4K. And the Eureka edition, if I do want to check, it's region A. Okay, so I guess Um, I don't know what I'm doing. Let me go. So this is just going to be a 4K. Yeah, I'm assuming Eureka has the Blu-ray Region A rights, and Kino has the 4K Region A rights to the 1927 The Cat and the Canary. That's why, yeah. Although that can't be true. No, that's not true because Kino is putting it out. Kino is putting their movie. I'm losing my mind here. Because Kino is putting out a 4K disc, and then their second disc is a Blu-ray with the movie as well. How can they do that? I have no idea. I have no idea. Anywho, I'm very confused. Yeah, because it's the 1927 version. That's so weird. Um, who knows? Who knows rights issues? I don't. But let's move on from there to what else Kino has cooking. Dan Curtis's classic Monsters. We talked about this already. It's coming out October 28th. Um, got a bunch of special features. Introduction to all films by Jeff Thompson, author of Television Horrors of Dan Curtis. There's a Dracula audio commentary by Mark Dawidziak, Dracula interview with actor Jack Palance, Dracula interview with producer director Dan Curtis, Dracula Spanish language soundtrack, Dracula alternative footage and scenes, Frankenstein audio commentary by film scholar Ronnie F. Hill, Frankenstein audio commentary by actors Robert Foxworth and John Carlin, Frankenstein, ABC TV, Wide World Mystery Promos, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, audio commentary by author, artist, and film historian Steve Bissett, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde interview with makeup effects artist Dick Smith. Yeah, these are all like TV horror movies of the 60s and 70s. That's what all these sets are. These sets really have. It would be nice if they would have listed off the movies, but I think I've talked about them already. Let's see. Let me go over to see if Blu-ray.com. Yep, it's Dracula, Frankenstein, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Probably should have guessed that. And these are all the TV version movies from the 1970s. And, like I said, 1960s as well. Okay. That is it. That's it from Kino for the last 2 weeks. They've been really quiet. Super duper quiet over the last little while. So we've done Indicator, we've done Umbrella, we've done Kino. Let's see. Boy, not much else in terms of slates. We'll go to Arrow. Let's go to Arrow, shall we? Shall we dance? Let's dance. So Arrow announced their November releases. Okay, so they announced their November releases, and we've got The Mask, the 1994 Jim Carrey film. We have Outland from 1981, starring Sean Connery. We have Red Planet from 2000, starring Val Kilmer and Carrie-Anne Moss. Speak No Evil from 2022. That's the original one. They just did an English language remake of it like last year. Deadly Friend from 1986. That's already been released on Blu-ray once upon a time. And then we have the classic The Apartment, the Billy Wilder film. I have their Blu-ray right here. I have it right here. This is in my opinion, one of their best catalog Blu-rays they've ever put out. Arrow is The Apartment. It's such a beautiful movie. Beautiful not only as a film, but beautiful also in this edition. Looks amazing. I was wondering if they were going to be putting out a 4K of this at any point, because there was already a 4K of this movie put out by Kino a little while back. So I was hoping that maybe Arrow would follow suit and put out their own 4K. This is such a beautiful edition. One of my favorite editions actually in my collection. It honestly is. And part of it is because I love the movie so much. Starring Jack Lemmon, Shirley MacLaine, Fred MacMurray. I believe it was a Best Picture winner. In 1960, I want to say. Best Picture winner. I love this movie so damn much. Such a great movie. Oh, oh, I love it. Um, Written by Billy Wilder, directed by Billy Wilder. The man could write a screenplay and he could direct a film. One of my favorites. So that's getting an upgrade. But let's get into some other things here. First up, and I know this is very exciting for a lot of people from my generation, a lot of the millennials. This is Jim Carrey's smash hit, The Mask, is getting a 4K release for the first time. I remember when this movie came out in 1994, it was a massive hit. I had it on VHS tape, watched it incessantly as a kid, quoted it incessantly as a kid, loved it endlessly as a kid. And I've known the movie ever since. I've quoted it ever since. Um, yeah, it's what a movie. And it's needed an upgrade for a while. It's only ever gotten a Blu-ray release that's been kicking around for many, many years. Let me check the original Blu-ray release and when it actually came out. So, The Mask, oh sweet Jesus, 2008. The original Blu-ray of The Mask was put out by Warner Brothers in 2008, and it's been the same disc that's been circulating ever since. So this is going to be a revelation in terms of upgrade, like just an absolute revelation. So we've got this movie stars Jim Carrey, Cameron Diaz. I don't know if I need to explain this movie to people. If you haven't seen The Mask, you haven't lived. You need to see this movie. Uh, Yeah, so Stanley Ipkiss, a mild-mannered bank clerk in Edge City, can't bring himself to approach Tina Carlisle. Cameron Diaz, a stunning nightclub singer who's captured his heart. Everything changes when Stanley discovers an ancient mask with supernatural abilities, unleashing a bold, unstoppable, and uncontrollable version of himself, the Mask. With reality-bending powers and boundless cartoon energy, Stanley becomes a whirlwind of mischief, soon attracting the attention of both the police and a crew of dangerous criminals. This movie is actually based on a comic book. This is a comic book movie. I don't think a lot of people know this. This is a comic book movie, and the comic book is kind of a rather dark and like violent comic book, and they cleaned it up immensely for this version of it, for this adaptation. And this is much cleaner than what the original comics are. You can buy like collected editions of the original comics right now on Amazon and read them for yourself. There was also a Mask animated series that came out after this, and I don't think that's ever been collected even on DVD. I would love to see that come out. Uh, you never know. There was an Ace Ventura animated series as well that's never been collected entirely on DVD either, let alone Blu-ray. Blu-ray would be a miracle. DVD would be a miracle in and of itself too, to see those two things happen. But we have The Mask. Let's get into uh, the special features because these are highly anticipated for me. 4K restoration from the original camera negative by Arrow Films, approved by director Chuck Russell. The new Dolby Atmos audio track, plus original DTS HD Master 5.1 audio. And then there's a lossless stereo track as well. Dolby Vision is last HDR presentation of the film. Optional English subtitles with deaf and hard of hearing. Archive audio commentary with Chuck Russell. Archive audio commentary with Chuck Russell. New Line co-chairman Bob Shea. Screenwriter Mike Werb. Executive producer Mike Richardson, producer Bob Engelman, ILM in Industrial Light and Magic, visual effects supervisor Scott Squires. Wow, that's a name. Animation supervisor Tom Bertino and cinematographer John R. Leonetti. That's a lot of people to do a commentary, I'll tell you that. The man behind the mask, a newly filmed interview with Chuck Russell. From Strip to Screen, a newly filmed interview with Mike Richardson, Mike Werb, and Mark Verheiden. Green Faces, Blue Screens, a newly filmed interview with visual effects supervisor Scott Squires. Splicin', a newly filmed interview with editor Arthur Coburn. Ask Peggy, a newly filmed interview with actor Amy Yasbeck. Wow, that's kind of awesome. Towing the Conga Line, a newly filmed interview with choreographer Jerry Evans featuring never before seen rehearsal footage. Terrier Mania, a new video essay by critic Elizabeth Purcell on K9 sidekick Milo. Archival featurettes return to Edge City, introducing Cameron Diaz, Cartoon Logic, What Makes Fido Run, the making of, an on-set interview bites with casting, crew, director, and B-roll footage, deleted scenes with optional commentary by director Chuck Russell, theatrical trailer, image gallery, reversible sleeve featuring 2 original artwork options like we usually get with limited edition Arrow releases, illustrated collector's booklet with writing on the film by Alexandra Heller Nicholas and original production notes, double-sided fold-out poster featuring 2 original artwork options, 6 poster cards, sized reproduction art cards. So all the usual bells and whistles with limited edition collector's stuff from Arrow. As you see here, a wealth of special features. Way more than we've been getting in the past. I'm trying to see if I have my copy of the mask handy. I don't think I do. Maybe in a stack over here. But the further I go down, the less likely it is. So yeah, this is a much welcome release. Like I said, unfortunately, you probably noticed no no interview with Jim Carrey. You know, I wouldn't expect there to be a new interview with Jim Carrey. It would have been amazing. Would have been incredible. We would have been welcome, but didn't think it was gonna happen. Um, you know, he just doesn't want to do it, or maybe he's too expensive to do it. Who knows? But that is the Mask, 4K UHD release of this. I know this is probably between this and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles trilogy set, which is coming out in December from Arrow. Uh, Millennial and people of my generation are living it up, living it up at the end of this year. um, so next, we've got something that I'm actually super excited about. I've mentioned this movie so many times here on Chasing Labels. Many of you may remember me mentioning it. Every time a Peter Hyams film has been announced that it's coming out, whether it's Capricorn 1 or The Relic or whatever, I always mention the movie Outland. Super underrated sci-fi movie from the 80s starring Sean Connery. And it's getting a 4K release from Arrow. It's only ever gotten a rather, I wouldn't say lame Blu-ray release, but it's already gotten a rather plain Blu-ray release that's been around for many, many years here. So this is going to be another much needed, much wanted upgrade. So writer-director Peter Hyams takes classic Western tropes off-world and into the future in sci-fi thriller Outland, starring Sean Connery as a federal marshal assigned to keep the peace on a distant moon. That's kind of the premise of the movie. I don't want to get into all of it. I want to see people discover this on their own. Let's see. New 4K restoration from the original 35mm camera negative by Arrow Films. Dolby Vision / HDR presentation of the film. Original lossless stereo 2.0 and DTS Master 5.1 audio options. Optional English subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing. Archive audio commentary by writer-director Peter Hyams. Brand new audio commentary by film critic Chris Alexander. A Corridor of Accidents, a newly filmed interview with writer-director Peter Hyams. Outlandish, a newly filmed interview with director of photography Stephen Goldblatt. Introvision, William Mesa on Outland, a newly filmed interview with visual effects artist William Mesa. No Place for Heroes, a brand new appreciation by film scholar Josh Nelson. Hollywoodland Outland, a brand new visual essay by film historian Howard S. Berger. And theatrical trailer, image gallery. And then double-sided fold-out poster, reversible sleeve art, illustrated collector's booklet. So the usual limited edition stuff. This is coming out November 4th, and The Mask is coming out November 11th. And those are the US release dates, I should say. Next, we got a movie called Red Planet, starring Val Kilmer and Carrie Ann Moss. When I tell you the premise of this movie, it may sound familiar to many of you, because it was certainly familiar for me when I watched the movie for the first time. Val Kilmer and Carrie Ann Moss headline the sci-fi adventure Red Planet, an exciting glimpse into a future where humankind's last hope for survival rests on escaping the bounds of Earth and colonizing the cosmos. In the not so distant future, the ecological crisis on Earth has taken a turn for the worse, and humanity's only hope may lie in seeking refuge on neighboring Mars. After years of unmanned missions to terraform the planet, a crew of astronauts aboard Mars 1 are finally sent to establish Earth's first Martian colony. But a giant solar flare sends their landing module crash landing on the planet, leaving our pioneers stranded in a harsh crimson wasteland as the crew battle the elements and rising inner tensions. They soon discover that Mars's newly formed atmosphere has had an unexpected and terrifying consequences. Um, so like I said, sounding familiar to you, uh, a crew, a crew or crewman, uh, in this case, it's an entire crew, gets stuck on Mars, and they've got to survive and escape it. And to do so, they have to traverse the Mars atmosphere, traverse the planet of Mars to find a way to escape it. It sounds exactly like the premise of The Martian, starring Matt Damon. Similar. To be honest, I know that the book I think came out in 2011. Uh, and this movie came out in 2000, but it takes a lot of those elements and and the Martian takes a lot of the elements from this and kind of utilizes it in the book, and then the book was turned into the movie by Ridley Scott. But it's very similar. Like they even at one point they even use like old equipment to communicate with the ship that's flying around the planet, if you will. They use older equipment that's been on the planet for a while to communicate with outside of the planet. Very similar to what Matt Damon did in the movie The Martian. He has to traverse Mars to find uh, another ship that's been there for a while to escape. I mean, it's very similar. Now, granted, a lot of these types of movies have existed for decades. Being stranded on a planet, being stranded in a foreign land, being stranded in another galaxy, being stranded somewhere, and having to traverse unknown terrain to find your way out of it. That's this general premise of most of those types of movies. But I'm just saying, this one was like very close to The Martian, and I was just the whole time I'm like, wow, I've seen this movie before. It's The Martian, um, and yeah, it's very interesting. Just I found it fascinating. But special features here. Dolby Vision HDR presentation of the film, original lossless DTS HD master audio, 5.1, optional English subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing. The Martian Chronicles, a brand new interview with visual effects supervisor Jeffrey A. Okun. Suit Up, a brand new interview with helmet and suits designer Steve Johnson. Angry Red Planet, a brand new visual retrospective with film critic Heath Holland. That's kind of cool. That's Serial at Midnight. For those of you may follow Serial at Midnight. That's Heath Holland. Deleted scenes, theatrical trailer, reversible sleeve featuring original and newly commissioned artwork, illustrated collector's booklet featuring new writing on the film as well. Coming out November 18th. Okay. So that's the movie Red Planet. Like I said, Val Kilmer, Carrie-Anne Moss. There's a couple of other actors you will definitely recognize in the movie. They're in it for a brief amount of time. Let me get the old cast list up here on IMDb. So, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Oh, Terrence Stamp, rest in peace, Terrence Stamp, Tom Sizemore, Benjamin Bratt, Simon Baker. So they all make up this crew of people. Obviously, the two main ones are Val Kilmer and Carrie-Anne Moss. It's very sad that most of the people in this movie have, passed away. And the movie's only 25 years old. Val Kilmer, of course, recently passed away. Tom Sizemore, I believe, passed away a few years ago. Terrence Stamp was just lost recently as well. Yeah, interesting. Just sad coincidence. Oh boy, time is undefeated, people. Time is undefeated. So next we have Speak No Evil, which debuting at the 2022 Sundance Film Festival. Christian Taftrop's Speak No Evil, co-written with his brother Mads, is a shockingly psychological horror film which stunned audiences and critics alike, leading to a Best International win at the Fangoria Chainsaw Awards and a 2024 Hollywood remake starring James McAvoy, which many of you probably are aware of. So this is a Danish film. So during a summer vacation in Tuscany, Italy, a reserved Danish family, Bjorn and Louise, and their young daughter Agnes befriend an outgoing Dutch couple, Patrick and Karen, holidaying with their young boy Abel 4 months after returning home. Uh, yeah, 4 months after returning home, Bjorn receives a surprise postcard from Patrick inviting the Danes to spend a weekend at their countryside house in the Netherlands. But when Bjorn and Louise arrive, supposedly idyllic and relaxing weekend soon starts to unravel as they try their very best to stay polite in the face of mounting unease. So what we get here is a we've seen a lot of these, a like an Eastern European thriller, if you will, like a disturbing, uneasy thriller. As you can imagine here, this family goes to visit this other family thinking that, hey, we're just going to, have a good fun time. We got along so well. We met on this vacation. And then things are not really quite what they appear to be. What's interesting about this movie and its remake, this may be sacrilege. I kind of like the remake a little bit more. And I don't want to get into particulars why, because that would be spoiling plot points and things like that. But I kind of like the remake a little bit more. I'll just say that. But let's get into the special features, shall we? Let's see. High definition presentation. So I guess this is just a Blu-ray. Yeah. High definition presentation, original DTS HD 5.1 master audio. Brand new commentary with co-director and writer Christian Taftrup and co-writer Mads Taftrup, recorded exclusively for Arrow in 2025. 6 never-before seen deleted scenes with optional commentary by both of those guys. Tragedy of Manners, a brand new video essay by filmmaker Jen Handorf investigating the illusions of safety within civility. Interesting. Original trailer. So that's it. Oh, this is a UK. I think it's a UK only release because it only has a UK street date of November 3rd. So I'm assuming this is a region B only. Yeah, this is a region B release, UK only. Okay. Then we have Deadly Friend. Now, I talked about Deadly Friend many, many moons ago. Let me see. I think Deadly Friend came out years ago. Yeah, I did. I talked about Deadly Friend back in 2021 because Shout Factory put out a release of it, and the Shout Factory release is still in print. This is the Wes Craven film. Sorry, I almost said John Carpenter. It's not. It's the Wes Craven film from 1986. The movie starring Christy Swanson and Ramsey's in it. Let's see. Let me see how they describe it here. Fresh from creating an all-time horror icon when he introduced the world to Freddy Krueger, director Wes Craven once again returned to the world of sinister suburban secrets with Deadly Friend, a tragic tale of teen love and technological terror. Nightmares don't just happen on Elm Street. Paul Conway is new in town, a teenage computer genius who built his own robot helper, BB. He lives alone with his mother, but is soon settling in, making new friends, and falling in love with the girl next door, Samantha. But Samantha's father is an abusive alcoholic who one night loses control, leaving his daughter in a coma. Unable to accept the loss, Paul turns his genius toward bringing her back with deadly results. And you can imagine what the deadly results are. It's the classic, the Pet Cemetery situation. You shouldn't bring things back from the great beyond, if you will. We've seen that go awry many, many times in movies and pop culture. Let's see what we got here for special features. High definition presentation, original lossless mono audio, optional English subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing, brand new audio commentary by film critic Stacy Ponder and Alexandra West. Hey Sam, nice shot, an archival interview with actress Christy Swanson. Written in Blood, an archival interview with screenwriter Bruce Joel Rubin. Samantha's Symphony, and an archival interview with composer Charles Bernstein. Robots, Ramsey and Revenge, an archival interview with special makeup effects artist Lance Anderson. The Tragedy of Samantha Pringle, a brand new visual essay by film critic B.J. Colangelo. March of the Pigs, a brand new visual essay by film critic Alexandra Helen Nicholas, our friend. Trailer and TV spots, image gallery, reversible sleeve with original and newly commissioned art, illustrated collector's booklet featuring new writings. And I think this is a Region B UK release only, because obviously Shout Factory has the rights here. I'm curious as to what we've got in terms of comparisons of special features. Let's take a sweet look here. So, so Hey Sam, Nice Shot is on the original Shout Factory release. Written in Blood is on the original Shout Factory release as well. Let's see. Let me move this over to make it easier for comparison. Robots, Ramsey, and Revenge is on the original release too from Shout Factory. Samantha Symphony is on the original release as well from Shout Factory. Let's see, and yeah, and then there's original theatrical trailer and original TV spots are on the original Shout Factory release as well. So, this release from Arrow carries over all of those special features from the Shout Factory release from 2021, plus a couple of new ones too. So, if you don't own that original release and you want to get this release, you get everything plus a couple extra stuff too. There you go. Now we come to it. That's coming out November 17th, by the way. Now we've come to it. The Apartment. Like I said, one of my favorite movies of all time. You could say one of the greatest movies of all time. Certainly so, and you wouldn't be wrong. I mean, Billy Wilder did nothing but great movies for the most part, in my opinion. And The Apartment is one of his best. I'm so excited for this release. Previously restored in 4K. There's a Dolby Vision HDR presentation of the film on here. So if you've never seen The Apartment, I couldn't recommend a movie more highly than this. I think it's so contemporary in so many different ways. In 1960, following the success of their collaboration on Some Like It Hot, director Billy Wilder, who did Ace in the Hole, Sunset Boulevard, reteamed with actor Jack Lemmon for what many consider the pinnacle of their respective careers, The Apartment. You could make that argument, and I wouldn't disagree with him. CC Bud Baxter, Jack Lemmon, is a lowly Manhattan office drone with a lucrative sideline in renting out his apartment to adulterous company bosses and their mistresses. So, Jack Lemmon, he's just like a regular old, it's like the 1960 equivalent of somebody working in a cubicle. Think of Ron Livingston's character in Office Space. He just works there every day. But what he does on the side to make a little extra cash is his bosses like to have affairs, I guess. So he rents out his apartment to his bosses and corporate people to have their dalliances, to have their affairs, right? Not the most morally acceptable thing to do, but he's got to make some extra money somehow. When Bud enters into a similar arrangement with the firm's personal director, J.D. Sheldrake, I think it's Sheldrake. Yeah, Sheldrake. Fred McMurray. Basically, he makes a deal with the Fred McMurray character to rent out his apartment to him. His career prospects begin to look up and up. But when he discovers that Sheldrake's mistress is Fran Kubelik, who is Shirley MacLaine, the girl of his dreams, he finds himself forced to choose between his career and the woman he loves. So, a little more context here. So, Shirley MacLaine plays she's the elevator woman. She's the one when you go in. Back in the day, there used to be people who worked in the elevators in like business and apartment buildings and whatever the case may be, where you get in an elevator, you tell them which floor you're going to, they push the button. That's what their job was, essentially. Or back in the day, early 20th century stuff, the elevator operators, that's probably more so the proper terminology here. Elevators had to be like manually operated, I would say, and that's where you would get elevator operators and stuff like that. So that's what Shirley MacLaine's character does in this film. Is she is the elevator lady woman. That's what her job is, and Jack Lemmon is like madly in love with her, but his boss, the woman that his boss is having an affair with, that just happens to be her, and it's his apartment that he's lending out for such an affair to occur in, and he is morally torn up about it. He's morally torn up about it. There's so many beautiful moments in this movie, so many great moments in this movie. I can't even begin to tell you all how great this movie is. So, winner of 5 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, The Apartment features a wealth of Hollywood's finest talent on both sides of the camera at the top of their game. By turn cynical, heartwarming, and hilarious, Wilder's masterpiece now shines like never before in stunning 4K presentation. Yeah, this is going to be something I think I'm going to upgrade to. Like I said, I've got this Blu-ray here that already has a 4K restoration, so I think they're just using this 4K restoration for this 4K release. Makes a lot of sense. It's relatively brand new. Let's see, we have original lossless mono audio, original lossless 5.1 DTS HD master audio, audio commentary with film producer and historian Bruce Block, the key to the apartment and appreciation with film historian Philip Kemp, select scene commentary by Philip Kemp, The Flawed Couple, a video essay by filmmaker David Cairns on the collaborations between Billy Wilder and Jack Lemmon, A Letter to Castro, an interview with actress Hope Holiday, the writer speaks Billy Wilder, an archival interview from the Writers Guild of America's oral history series, Inside the Apartment, a half-hour making of featurette from 2007, including interviews with Shirley MacLaine, executive producer Walter Mirisch, and others, Magic Time, The Art of Jack Lemmon, and archival profile of the actor from 2007. So I'm pretty sure that it's everything that's on the old Blu-ray. They're just porting all of that over. What they don't mention here is that the original screenplay by Billy Wilder and IAL Diamond is a BD-ROM exclusive content. Interesting. But everything else is ported over. There's a 150-page book in here as well. That's got to be what's in here. Yeah, because it says reversible sleeve featuring original and newly commissioned artwork by Ignatius Fitzpatrick, collector's booklet featuring writing on the film by a bunch of people, including our friend Kat Ellinger. So let me actually take this out. I can't remember if I've done a Blu-ray review of this here on the channel. I would honestly have to go and look. If I haven't, here's a quick one now. Here's a quick one now. We've got time, people. We've got time. So here's the booklet that I was just talking about. This is hardbound, and tightly bound too. I almost don't want to open it for fear of messing with the binding. But it's got all kinds of stuff in it. There's a good shot of Jack Lemmon. Pictures, writings, all kinds of stuff. Oh, here's the Kat Ellinger one. Broken Mirrors, Illusions, and Disillusion in Billy Wilder's Diamond Comedies by Kat Ellinger. There you go. Right there. There we go. And here is the standard, Blu-ray keep case. I'm assuming that the 4K will be a black case. And here's the disc. Here is the disc. So I'm assuming the disc will be the same too. You can see the reversible cover art on the back there. That just has the original. It's got the newly commissioned artwork that's on the cover of the box. I flipped it around, so I put the original artwork on the cover art for the slip case. On the cover art for the Blu-ray case. Sorry, my mind's starting to go. Just because it's nice. It's a nice contrast. Let me put all this back, and we will move on to what we have next on the slates, because I think we're now going to make our way to the individual releases, and there are a couple of them that I wanted to get into. Then we'll go to Vinegar Syndrome, and that will probably be it for this episode, but we have a little ways to go. Let's see, let me put this back. Okay. All right, then. Let us see what we've got here. So this is coming out November 24th, and it says a UK street date. So I'm assuming it's a UK release only, which makes a lot of sense because I said the apartment got a 4K release from Kino a little while ago. Let me take a look at it really quickly because I'm curious what they have for special features. I never really did quite a comparison. Okay. So the 4K release from Kino had an exclusive commentary and then had an archival commentary by Bruce Block, which is the um the Arrow video one has. And then Magic Time, the art of Jack Lemmon, that's on the 4K from Kino. Inside the Apartment, this archival program examines I think Inside the Apartment was also a special feature on that. Let's see. Yeah, so it had the Kino release had two of the special features that are on the Arrow release, plus the same commentary by Bruce Block that's also on the Arrow release. The only thing that's different with the Kino release and the Arrow release of the Apartment is that Kino has an exclusive commentary that the Arrow one doesn't. Uh, there you go. Okay, that was just a little quickie there. Let's move over now to a couple of individual releases, like I said. Our friends over at Fun City Editions are doing their first ever 4K UHD release. First ever. Ladies and gentlemen, the Fabulous Stains 4K UHD / Blu-ray limited deluxe edition, and this is going to be a website exclusive from Fun City. So you've got to go to funcityeditions.com, and that's where you can find this. It's available to pre-order now. There's no street date on it yet. I don't think there's a list of special features yet. It's just up on their website to pre-order, which is great. Congratulations to Jonathan Hertzberg over there for being able to put this out. They've been making Blu-rays for years now. Jonathan Hertzberg's been on Chasing Labels, I think twice, maybe twice. Fun City is always doing great stuff. I got to catch up with their releases. I'm a couple behind, and there's a couple of website exclusives that I have to track down just because the slipcovers are gone. They're gone, and it's like you know me. I'm a slipcover fanatic. Got to get my cardboard covers. But a couple of releases of theirs recently I got to get is Baby It's You, Falling in Love, Breaking Glass, and Goodbye Columbus. Those are 1, 2, 3, 4 releases of recently that I've got to get of theirs. I just picked up Racing with the Moon and Lifeguard a little while ago. I think I showed them off on here a couple episodes back. So I just want to make sure to mention that. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Fabulous Stains 4K UHD release from Fun City Editions now. That also got a Blu-ray release a couple of years ago, I believe, from Imprint. Let me see, Fabulous Stains. Yes, it did. Back in 2022, there was a Blu-ray release of that movie. Let's see, and for special features for that, there were 3 commentaries plus several special features there, all new stuff. So I'm curious if that's going to make its way over to the Fun City Editions release when the time comes. We'll do a comparison at that time. I just want to make sure that there wasn't a list of special features and I completely missed it. But it would be on their website, you would think, right? Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just I think our buddy Scott Saslow also did the cover art for the release too. Special shout out to him too. He also did. Yeah, I told you guys. He also worked on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle release for Arrow. I mentioned that last time, I think. But he did. Yeah, it says the front and back of Scott Saslow's 7-inch picture sleeve inspired box art for our Ladies and Gentlemen the Fabulous Stains limited edition 4K UHD release is up for pre-order at Fun City Editions. Big thanks to a bunch of people. Okay. Big, so yeah, so there's no list yet of stuff. Just want to double check. You never know. To be honest, guys, um, it's tough to keep up with all of this on your own. It really is. If you guys ever want to go into podcasting, um, get a podcasting partner. You know, Steven and I worked on tandem together. Now that Steven's kind of more doing the producer stuff with all the stuff here on Chasing Labels, I'm handling more of the nitty gritty stuff here with the details. It's still tough to keep up with a lot of all of this because every single day we've got news dropping. We've got sales that pop up every now and then that you like to keep up with just so that people know what's going on. You've got different editions of the same movie from different places with different special features, different, sometimes different formats, all this kind of stuff kind of tends to throw you for a loop and it can be a little overwhelming. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It can be. And I'm such a perfectionist when it comes to all of this that I try to do as much as I can to be as thorough as I can, I should say. Um, but speaking of thoroughness, let's get back on track. So we talked about, ladies and gentlemen, the Fabulous Stains from Fun City. Now, there are some things brewing over at Severin. They were at a horror convention about a week or so ago, and they were talking about possible future releases. And then there's also stuff happening at film festivals that they are involved in terms of screening new restorations of certain movies. So I wasn't able to really like dive into all of that because it was kind of like not hearsay, but it was just making its way through the film lovers community, film collectors lovers community as well. But there's two I wanted to make note of. There's this movie called Lo Spettro, which is an Italian ghost story. Um, and let me go over to Severin's Facebook page because they talked about it a little bit of what they're doing with Lo Spettro, and I wanted to make sure to inform people that that's possibly a future, 4K, probably a 4K release from Severin at some point, because they're involved in all kinds of different things. So, excuse me. This is from Severin's Facebook page from August 29th, so just a couple of days ago. Having just caught our breath from last weekend's Super Shock celebration, we're plunging straight into the biggest international festival week in Severin history. Tomorrow, August 30th, at the Venice Film Festival, the Venice Film Festival will host our world premiere restoration of Lo Spettro, or The Ghost, introduced by Severin CEO David Gregory, star Barbara Steele, and Severin Italian correspondent Manilo Gamarasco. Um, it's a Riccardo Freda's landmark 1963 horror thriller has been selected for the festival's Venice Classics selection alongside films by Pedro Almodovar, Joseph L. Mankiewicz, and Stanley Kubrick. So I wanted to mention that because I think they held a screening at, like I said, this previous horror convention that they were at. They held a screening there, and then they held a screening at the Venice Film Festival. So this has got to get a release sometime in the future. This is an interesting movie starring Barbara Steele. It stars Barbara Steele, and like I said, it's I think a 1963 Italian ghost story film called Lo Spettro. And what happens is this man this man and woman, one portrayed by Barbara Steele, obviously, they basically have this affair and they conspire to get rid of this woman's husband, and they do, but his spirit basically comes back to haunt them. It's one of those types of stories. It reminded me a lot of the Roger Corman Edgar Allan Poe adaptations starring Vincent Price that were also done in the 60s. It gave me that type of vibe. It also gave me the vibe of like The Changeling, the George C. Scott movie. It reminded me of that too. Just not as good as those movies. Not as good as any of the Vincent Price stuff or Changeling with George C. Scott. Gave me those vibes and that energy, and similar to them, but not as good as those movies. I want to make that clear, but still, that was the level that was on for me. And then they are doing, I think they're doing an official licensed release of the movie, The Crippled Masters, which is, let me get the IMDb up of The Crippled Masters. Da-da-da-da-da-da. So, The Crippled Masters is a 1979 martial arts film. Two kung fu masters betray and cripple their partners, but they combine martial arts to seek revenge against their evil master. Um, yeah, so these two individuals are they are rendered handicapped in different ways. One can no longer walk, and another one can no longer has arms to be able to use. So they basically train to take revenge on the people who did this to them. Um, Obviously, utilizing what they have at their disposal, and combining their abilities, they do so. It's a lot. It's a lot of fun. It's wild. It's kind of a crazy concept, but it also kind of works, leading to like a fun 90-minute martial arts film. And you may remember that Crippled Masters did get a Blu-ray release, I think about a year ago, from um, Film Masters. Yeah, July 23rd, 2024. Film Masters put out a Blu-ray release of this. So what I learned is that Film Masters didn't really put out didn't they didn't officially license the movie. What they did is they got their hands on some type of elements from it, probably bootleg elements, probably lesser elements, and they put out essentially a bootleg version of the Crippled Masters, while Severin has officially purchased the license to put out the movie years and years ago, and also getting much better elements to utilize to put out their version of it. So that's what I've learned. So the Crippled Masters release from Severin is going to be a lot better than the one put out by Film Masters. Um, that's just the way it is. um, yeah, so we will see what is happening there. Um, so that there was a bunch of other stuff that they had screened as well, but I don't know what the detail is going to be when it comes to if they're going to get future releases or not. So I thought it would be best to just let that lie to when they announce it themselves, and then we'll cover it at the time. I just want to take a quick check over and look at YouTube to make sure that I am indeed actually streaming this whole entire time, or if I'm just talking to the walls, which I often do in my time. I'm very much Rupert Pupkin when it comes to just talking out loud, just practicing my stuff. Oh, I am live. Okay, good. Let's see. Yes, I am. Very nice. Okay, so we will move on to a next individual release that we've got going here, and let's see which one I want to talk about. Let me check my notes. Um, okay, Mondo Macabro is putting out this movie called The Black Magic with Buddha or Budha. And I have no idea what this movie is. I have no idea what this movie is. So I'm going to go to their Facebook page and see what the heck they've got going. If you know Mondo Macabro, they put out the most unique stuff you have ever seen. Stuff no one else is really ever putting out or ever talking about. Let's see, there's two Mondo Macabros apparently. Let's see. Okay, let me check. Hold on. There are two Mondo Macabros. Let me see what the heck's going on. Here we go. So, coming in 2026, so we are going way into the future now. The results of a search decades in the making, produced in collaboration with our longtime friends Frederick Ambrosine and Lashat Kifum, one of the most insane of all early 80s Hong Kong horrors, at long last, Black Magic with Buddha. Let me look up what the heck this movie's about. just because I have no idea. No idea whatsoever. Ba-ba-ba-bum. I thought they would give me a little bit of a description there, but they did not. Okay, so the story is about two explorers who invade a temple in the dark of a jungle. They find a mummy, remove its brain, and return to the mainland, resulting in a series of bloody murders throughout the city. Okay, there we go. That's what it is. And that's coming from Mondo Macabro in 2026. And then next year we got a double. This is a double release. Same movie, two companies, two different editions. Bear with me here because I don't know how to make heads or tails out of this. So let's see. So we've got The Curse of Frankenstein is getting a Warner Archive release and getting a Hammer release in the UK. So Warner Archive here, Hammer there. And let me see if I can make heads or tails out of this, because it's two rather different versions of this release. So on October 14th is going to be a release of The Curse of Frankenstein 4K and Blu-ray editions. 4K edition is going to be a 3-disc set. Special features, new commentary with author and critic Kim Newman, horror anthologist writer Stephen Jones, and Barry Forshaw, author of Critic Gothic Cinema. New commentary with Heidi Honeycutt, writer, filmmaker, and film programmer, and cult movie expert Toby Rohn. Archival commentary with Hammer experts Marcus Hearn and Jonathan Rigby. Archival interview with writer-producer Steve Haberman and filmmaker and film historian Konstantin Nasser. And then there's a bunch of other special features here that are not titled yet. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoever wrote this press thing should be kicked in the head because it's a mess. This is a mess. No spacing whatsoever. Okay. Bunch of I'm not going to go through all of this. Because my head's going to explode. Needless to say, stacked release. Stacked upon stacked release of special features. Let's see. Yeah. Hold on. Should have done this beforehand, so I don't even know if I'm trying to see if there's an easier place that has a list of the special features. Jesus Christ. I can't go through all this. It's like 3 paragraphs worth of special features here. Needless to say, it's a 3-disc edition, new 4K restoration of 3 versions of the film. US theatrical cut, UK theatrical version in 1371 with side mats open matted. So different aspect ratio. You've got 185 to 1 aspect ratio, 166 to 1 aspect ratio, and 137 to 1 aspect ratio in each of them respectively. Tons of special features loaded here, and this is the Warner Archive release. So this is the US one. Okay, this is the US one. Now let me go over and see the UK one, because the UK one I think has got all the same special features plus like tons of extra goodies in there too. So let me see if I can find. Yeah, there's a limited collector's edition. It's a digipack version. It is a 6-disc set. Okay. This is the UK version, the 6-disc set. Of course, they don't have it here. Let me go over to Hammer's Facebook page. Okay, let me go to Hammer's Facebook page so I can get a sense of what's going on over there. Like I told you, this is kind of an absolute mess. There it is. You know what? Our good friend Ryan Verrills got it on his Facebook page. So yeah, this is the movie directed by Terrence Fisher and starring Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee. The Curse of Frankenstein is brought to you in 4K, carefully restored from the original film elements by the Hammer team in collaboration with Warner Archive Collection. Yeah, it's the Frankenstein story, um, but the Hammer version of it. Yeah, it's been available on Blu-ray for years, both here and in the UK. I have the US Warner Archive Blu-ray, and this is going to be a massive upgrade from that. That is a relatively new Blu-ray too. It's not old. Um, so the limited edition, the UK release, this release is a UK release only. This limited collector's edition comprises 6 discs and a stylish digipack, 2 UHDs, and 4 Blu-rays, with the film and new special features content duplicated on both the UHD and Blu-ray. So you get everything on on the 4K discs and everything on the Blu-ray discs. Disc 6 is only featured in the limited edition in the limited collector's edition and will not be available in the retail versions of this film. 3 aspect ratios, brand new 5.1 audio mixes, 168-page booklet featuring new and reprint articles, 68-page comic featuring a reprint of the comic strip from the legendary 1970s magazine, The House of Hammer. And the discs, I think it's, jeez. I'm just looking at this really quickly. Should have done this in preparation for the show, but just so overwhelming. Yeah, both of these editions are really, really stacked. Yet again, whoever wrote this copy here should be imprisoned. It's like this. All they did was just like it's not for me in my mind. When you're doing a list of special features, you got to separate the special features so that when people are reading this, it's not just all jumbled together in paragraph form. You know what I mean? That's what it looks like to me, and I can't go through this with any type of speed without being overwhelmed. It's really driving me utterly insane. Um, and because there's so many special features that it's just so overwhelming. Needless to say, whether you get the UK release or you get the Warner Archive US release, you're going to be satisfied with the amount of special features you're going to get, and you're going to be satisfied with um just this release in general. So there are limited collector's edition exclusives that are on the Hammer set that are not on the Warner Archive edition. And there's several of them. And I can't go through all of them right now because I'll be here forever. Obviously the booklet stuff and things like that, that's not going to be part of the Warner Archive edition and whatnot. There's just too much here. Just too much. Okay. The picture of this is utterly unreal. Needless to say, I think this is going to be very expensive and it's probably going to sell very fast. I'm just very curious if it's up for pre-order yet on places like Orbit DVD. I think I saw Mark the other day mentioning that it is going to be up for a pre-order. But I don't know if it's up yet. Oh, it is. That's actually not as expensive as I thought. Wow. Okay. For the set this size, the Hammer one, I thought it would have been well over $100. I thought we were talking like a monster, but no, it $78.99 is the pre-order on orbitdvd.com for the UK edition. Okay. I'm so shocked. I'm shocked. But anywho, we gotta move on here because we're hitting the 2-hour mark. And yeah, The Curse of Frankenstein is the Warner Archives putting out their 4K edition. Hammer's putting out their 4K edition. Both sets are loaded with special features, but the UK edition I think has some extra special features, both on disc as well as in book form. Plus, it's a much bigger set with 6 discs versus 3 discs. Uh, yeah, so it's a lot. It's a lot. One more thing I want to talk about, then we'll head over to Vinegar Syndrome. Um, it's from our good friends over at New Wave Video. Our friend John Matthews, who's been on here many times or several times, and we're probably going to have him back on here again once these releases from his label of New Wave Video start coming out. We will we'll have him on just to talk about how everything's going over there and the releases and all that stuff. Um, Now there's one release here that's in the early stages. And I think this is their third release, and I don't think this is going to be coming out probably till next year. So, and then there's a fourth release that they already have planned on announcing sometime soon. Um, let's see. So, let me just read this here. So, announcement for Spine number 3 from New Wave Video. Urotsukidoji, The Perfect Collection. The legendary saga returns. Dive into the dark, erotic, and apocalyptic world of Urotsukidoji with The Perfect Collection, a deluxe set uniting the entire notorious franchise in one definitive release. Legend of the Overfiend shattered boundaries and ignited global controversy, forever changing how the world saw anime. Misunderstood and heavily criticized upon its release, it stands as a bold 80s classic, a twisted saga of a prophesized being whose arrival sparks a violent clash between the human, demon, and man-beast worlds. What we are planning: 2K restoration of the original theatrical film, beautifully remastered from rare 35mm prints for series 2 through 5, which is The Legend of the Demon Womb, The Return of the Overfiend, Infernal Road, and the final chapter, every possible movie and OVA version. All new bonus features, including interviews, critical analysis, and visual essays on the importance and controversy of the series. Deluxe rigid box packaging, massive collector's book packed with rare production art, character designs, and new essay writings. Unleash the Overfiend. As devoted admirers of this grotesque and unforgettable series, our goal is to deliver the definitive release, the be-all, end-all box set. The set will be presented on 50GB Blu-ray discs with maxed out bit rates to ensure the highest possible quality. Separate standard editions will also be available as per our contract. This is being produced for the region B market. Okay. No release date just yet, but we're aiming for late 2025 to early 2026. Okay. A little earlier than I assumed. I thought this would be next year, to be honest. Just because this is a very ambitious release from our friends over at New Wave Video. So, what this is a lot to explain to people in a very short amount of time. So, this is a series of anime films. Loosely, I mean really only the first film is based off of a manga. And this manga is like erotic Japanese manga. Think of Japanese animation adult content. That stuff. Okay? Not to get too I don't want to get too explicit with it all that kind of stuff, because you guys, we're adults here. You can understand what I'm saying. So it's taking that manga, that erotic manga, and they made a series of movies out of it, really. But really the first film, which is a theatrical it's a theatrical how do I say it? They made a series of not anthology, but like different parts as adaptations, OVAs, if you will. And then they made a theatrical cut down version of that. If you okay. So the first film in this series, which I actually did watch, which is the theatrical cut. Let me go over to my letterboxd so I can actually look it up. Let's see. Let me go to my diary on there, see if I can find it. Of course, the website always giving me issues. Here we go. Let's see. Where are you? Oh yeah, Urotsukidoji, The Legend of the Overfiend. Now, this is the first film, came out in 1989. It is a compressed version of a much longer adaptation of this erotic manga, if you will. And This is when certain things of erotic anime, manga, and things like that, certain staples of that genre were kind of not founded in here, but made popular through this medium, if you will. I'm dancing around this there. Made popular through this medium, certain hallmarks of it, if you will. But this first film here is 106 minutes. Like I said, a truncated version of a much longer story, much longer adaptation. And yeah, it's about like demons, humans, and then like these half human, half beast type of creatures, if you will. And they're all waiting for this messianic figure called the let me actually just read this. Legend has it that the human race is not the only dominant civilization living on Earth. Two other races exist in this world: the Makai, which is the demon race, and the Jujinkai, half man, half beast race. And then, of course, there's humans. Over every 3,000, once every 3,000 years, a supreme being known as Shojin or the Overfiend will emerge and bring balance to all three realms on Earth. So they're all kind of waiting. Well, two of them are waiting for this overfiend to arrive, and one of these half man, half beast creatures is on Earth, and he's trying to find the overfiend, and he finds it within this like young teenager kid, if you will. And yeah, that things ensue from there. The movie is wild, it's crazy, it's graphic as all heck. Graphic sexually, graphic violently, crazy demonic things are going on in here. It's not for everyone. I will definitely say that. You've got to be of a certain kind of predilection. You've got to be a certain type of person to really be okay watching this, if you will. It'll take you aback. Don't watch it in mixed company, if you will. Don't do that. People will look at you weird, but this is what this is. So this is the first film in this series. The subsequent films that I just mentioned during the kind of the press release that New Wave Video did, they weren't really adapting the original manga. They were just kind of going off in different directions and making up their own stuff, but following along and continuing the story of this. Yeah, so I'm kind of excited to see this release because this is something I've never, never gotten into before. Not gotten into, but I never seen this film. I wasn't aware of this series of movies. So I was just checking it out and reading up on it and whatnot. And plus, with New Wave Video and just knowing John Matthews the way I know, knowing his love for cinema, knowing his love for like education and cinema and stuff like that, these releases are going to be really good. We talked about his first two releases last time. So I'm excited for this. I'm once again, it's called Urotsukidoji, The Perfect Collection. There we go. All right. A lot of things cooking here. So now we will go over to Vinegar Syndrome. Okay. So Vinegar Syndrome has been having their they've been having their Labor Day sale, which is going to be up in 45 minutes. I'll be honest with you guys, I may have to put in a little bit of an order here before the end of the show, just so I can get it in time, but we shall see. Let's see what we've got here in terms of announcements. So they announced on Labor Day that they are they announced 19 partner label titles plus their scope of Vinegar Syndrome partner labels, the Vinegar Syndrome labels properly. So let me check what they've got going. So let me go to Vinegar Syndrome. So let's see, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Vinegar Syndrome labels from 7 Vinegar Syndrome releases from Vinegar Syndrome themselves and 19 partner label titles. Okay. So we've got films of Larry Fessenden Volume 2. Last month we talked about Larry Fessenden collect the films of Larry Fessenden Volume 1. Uh, and this Volume 2 set contains Wendigo and The Last Winter. Then we have Vinegar Syndrome, Bloodstained Italy, which contains the movies Obscene Desire, The Bloodstained Lawn, Death Falls Lightly. Then we have another Vinegar Syndrome title. This is a 4K release. The Larry Fessenden collection is a 4K release too. Bloodstained Italy is a Blu-ray release. And this is the movie called The Resurrected. Now, this is directed by Dan O'Bannon. That name may not mean a lot to some of you, but it means a little something to me. Dan O'Bannon, I believe it is the Dan O'Bannon. He is the writer of Alien. He was also the writer, or was going to be the writer for the screenplay of Jodorowsky's Dune, which never got made. But Dan O'Bannon directed this movie called The Resurrected. I believe it's that Dan O'Bannon. Then Vinegar Syndrome Archive has Vice Academy 1 through 6. Then Vinegar Syndrome Labs has the movie The Strange Affair. Then Cinematograph has the movie Gang Related, which is Tupac Shakur's last acting credit. If you go to his IMDb, this is the last movie he is credited with being in. And then you've got a collection from the Pink Line, which is the films of Hisasu Sato, Volume 1, which has Rewind, Lustmord, and Love Letter in the Sand. So Pink Line is obviously an imprint, a sub-label from Vinegar Syndrome that deals with the Japanese pink films of the 1970s primarily. Let's see. I'm not going to go over this one because I didn't really get to go into it. I didn't get to get into these films. So the 1970s through the 1990s saw a boom in transgressive genre filmmaking throughout Asia, but particularly in Japan, where the Pinku Eiga became one of the most popular types of films produced in the countries. With young filmmakers seizing an opportunity to hone their craft, countless soon-to-be celebrated directors created work which were more daring, unusual, and often shocking than just about any of the other genre cinema. Oh boy, genre cinema urging across the. That's emerging. That's a typo. Emerging across the globe. Pink Line will present exclusive new restorations of select works from key Asian erotic filmmakers with a focus on Japan's Pinku Eiga genre. Okay. And I don't think it's. Hold on, let me check their sub-labels. This is their first release. Yeah, this is the first release from this line. Okay. I just wanted to make sure because I hadn't seen this line before from the sub-label. So they are putting out this. Okay. And that's films of Hiseisu Sato Volume 1, Rewind, Lustmord, and Love Letter in the Sand. Yet again, I do want to mention what I mentioned earlier, or re-mentioned what I said earlier in my introduction to this episode. I didn't get into a lot of these releases or be too investigative into a lot of them because they did just drop yesterday afternoon. They did just drop on the 1st, September 1st, which was Labor Day, which was a Monday, which is a holiday here in the United States. And typically we do our episodes of Chasing Labels on a Monday. So I had to put things off for a day just to even, gather my thoughts on all of these, or just put these all in my watch list, put them in my notes, get into what these movies actually are. Before I could even watch any of them, I had to do all of that. So I didn't get to see a lot of these. So this would be kind of a shorter look at these Vinegar Syndrome and partner label titles than I've done previously, just because I didn't have a lot of prep time. So I apologize for that. I like to be as thorough as I can on here, just to give people a little more introspective as to what is coming out and what these do offer. But I did get to see the films of Larry Fessenden Volume 2. There's only 2 movies in here. It's Wendigo and The Last Winter. And both of these movies are kind of atmospheric horror films, if you will. Atmospheric horror films. So Wendigo, George and his wife Kim, and their son Miles, They leave their home in Manhattan for a winter respite in upstate New York, looking for some much needed rest and relaxation. On their drive north, the family is involved in a sudden accident when George hits a deer and runs across an icy road, setting the stage for a snowbound supernatural showdown between them and the titular Wendigo, a grotesque legendary beast from Native American folklore. That's kind of what the movie is about, kind of not. So what ends up happening is you've got this family. This movie stars Jake Weber, who's kind of a character actor. And the wife is portrayed by Patricia Clarkson, whom I've always liked. And then the son is Eric Per Sullivan, he was the youngest son on the TV show Malcolm in the Middle. And it's interesting that he had a little bit of a movie career early on in his life, and he's since not done any acting in like 20 years. And he's not even coming back for the Malcolm in the Middle series revival either. But this movie is less about them dealing with a Wendigo supernatural adversary and more about them dealing with uh, an actual physical adversary. The people in this area don't seem to like outsiders too much. They don't seem to like people from the city coming up to upstate New York to take vacations. It's more so about that than it is about a Wendigo. Now, that kind of supernatural entity does play some type of factor in here. I won't tell you how or why or what, but it does happen. Um, so that's that movie called Wendigo. And then you've got The Last Winter. So The Last Winter, I think, is even a better film. I would say it's a better film. At the remote Alaskan base of an oil company, hard-headed base leader Ed Pollock, who is Ron Perlman, faces off with eco-scientist James Hoffman, who's James LaGrosse, another good character actor. He pops in every now and then. He was in the movie Living in Oblivion, who has raised concerns about the environmental impact of the drilling in the area due to the abnormally warm temperatures in the region. When one of Pollock's crew is found dead on the ice and members of his team start experiencing hallucinations, Hoffman turns to a scientific explanation despite signs pointing towards something more supernatural at play. So, this movie's dealing with larger concepts of like global warming and climate change, but it's doing so in the prism of like Larry Fessenden's version of The Thing. You got all these people on a remote Alaskan um, base, if you will. You know, out in the cold, secluded, in the middle of nowhere. There's this external force entity that's playing with them physically and mentally. It's having an impact on them, and things kind of escalate and escalate. You got some character actors in here that I think people may recognize. Like I said, Ron Perlman, James LaGrosse, Connie Britton is in here, Zach Gilford. So you get a double dose of Friday Night Lights cast members. Kevin Corrigan, who is an actor. If you see him show up in things, you'll recognize him, but you may not remember his name. Kevin Corrigan, he was on that show. Oh goodness. Oh, what was that sitcom that Kevin Corrigan was in? I have the whole series too on DVD. But he pops up in Scorsese movies now. Of course they don't have. I freaking hate you, IMDb. I hate you, IMDb. IMDb's not giving me what I need. I gotta scroll all the way back because he's a bit actor who's in a lot of things, kind of just remotely. So I've got to go back to. I almost want to run upstairs to my movie collection, to my TV show collection, and find it. Oh, Grounded for Life. He was the uncle in the sitcom Grounded for Life, underrated sitcom in my opinion. But he's also been in, like, he popped up in The Departed. He popped up in like American Gangster. He pops up in a bunch of things nowadays. And yeah, so he's in this. So recognizable people. Like I said, Patricia Clarkson was in Wendigo. But yeah, both these movies are fine. They're both fine. Like I said, I think The Last Winter's a better film, more atmospheric. It's like I said, gives you that The Thing vibe. It's not as good as The Thing, not as well made, not as intriguing, not as, as great as a movie, but it gives you the similar vibes. Let me see what we got here for special features. We've got 2-disc set, 4K UHD, presented in Dolby Vision High Dynamic Range. We've got newly scanned and restored in 4K from its 16mm original camera negative. I don't know which film, maybe both. Brand new audio commentary track with the writer-director Larry Fessenden, moderated by Justin La Liberty. Brand new commentary track with film critic Simon Abrams. Archival commentary track with writer-director Larry Fessenden. Archival commentary track with actors Patricia Clarkson, Jake Weber, and John Spiridakos. Searching for the Wendigo, an archival making of documentary. A new hallucination, 8 minutes, an archival featurette with writer-director Larry Fessenden on Wendigo. Sales trailer for an animated Wendigo TV series with introduction by Larry Fessenden. Interesting. Alternate ending for Wendigo. Original video trailer, Glass Eye, Pick, Sizzle Reel. Santa Claus, a short film by Larry Fessenden. Reversible sleeve artwork. Oh, this is all for Wendigo, by the way. That's all for Wendigo. So, The Last Winter is a 2-disc set, 4K Ultra HD, and then Region A Blu-ray. 4K Ultra HD presented in Dolby Vision High Dynamic Range, newly scanned and restored in 4K from its 35mm digital intermediate negative. Brand new commentary track from the director, moderated by Justin La Liberty. Brand new commentary track with critic Alexandra Heller-Nicholas. Archival commentary track with writer-director Larry Fessenden. Making the Last Winter, 107-minute feature-length archival making of documentary. Wow, that's a feature film in and of itself. Interview with co-writer director Larry Fessenden conducted in 2015. Archival behind-the-scenes footage from the production. Glass Eye Picks promotional reel from 2015. Reversible sleeve artwork. Okay, so that is the films of Larry Fessenden Volume 2, the 4K UHD release. Bloodstained Italy, I did not get to see. The Resurrected, like I said, it's directed by Dan O'Bannon, so I had to at least mention that. Yeah, it's also loaded with the special features too. Wow. So I don't know anything about the movie. In the interest of time, we'll just move past it. I did get to see the cinematograph release of Gang Related. So Gang Related, like I said, stars Tupac Shakur, but it also stars Jim Belushi. Dennis Quaid's in the film as well as Gary Cole. James Earl Jones is in it as well. Let's see. David Paymer, who's always an underrated kind of career actor to me. Career character actor, I should say. So the premises is thus. Los Angeles Vice Squad detectives and partners Jake Rodriguez, Tupac Shakur, and Frank Da Vinci, James Belushi, stage a faux drug deal with a drug trafficker that they end up murdering and robbing, taking his cash and drugs in the process. Upon turning in the stolen cocaine at their precinct, Rodriguez and Da Vinci are notified that the person they murdered wasn't a lowly street criminal, but in fact a DEA agent in deep cover, igniting a citywide search for those responsible for his murder. Now, Rodriguez and Da Vinci have to find someone else to pin the murder on before it's too late. So, these are crooked cops doing crooked things in this movie called Gang Related. So these guys decided that, hey, they basically were going to make money by making fake drug deals and then just murdering the people they're making the deal with, and then taking them, and then, taking the money and putting the drugs. They basically take the drugs from the evidence lockers, use it to make these fake deals, get the money, kill the people, and then put the drugs back or whatever. They're crooked cops, you know what I mean? But one time that they do this, happens to be an undercover DEA agent. So now the DEA is investigating, the police are investigating. It's more serious now. It's not just kind of like a lowly criminal level type of stuff. So what they have to do is they have to start orchestrating, hey, we need a fall guy. We need to plant a gun on them. And what they end up doing is they end up taking a gun that's being used in another criminal case and using it for this case. So now they got to replace the old gun. And now it creates a complication with this other case. Needless to say, things start escalating and escalating. Dennis Quaid is the person that they pin this on. And he's not who he appears to be, so that's another thing that kind of goes out of control. And things just kind of amp up, or get bigger and bigger and more out of control. The movie is okay. It's the third act, the movie is going along kind of as you expected, and then the movie I think kind of peters out towards the end, in my opinion. And the ending kind of the movie kind of loses some steam towards the end. That's my biggest issue with it, is the movie kind of loses its steam towards the end. But other than that, it's pretty decent '90s kind of cop drama with darkly comedic moments, with darkly comedic moments. Let's see what we have for special features. So, the movie came out in '97. If anybody's interested, let's see. New audio commentary with writer director Jim Koff, Koff, and executive producer Lynn Bigelow Koff. Sounds of a City, a new video essay, a new video interview with Jim Koff and Lynn Bigelow Koff. Dream Opportunity, a new video interview with producer and co-president of Orion Pictures, Brad Krivoy. Staying in Business, a new video interview with producer Steve Stabler. Shelf Life, a new video interview with executive in charge of music at Orion Pictures, Marcus Barone. Dynamic in His Range, a new video conference with Jonathan Abrams, author of The Come Up, and oral history of the rise of hip-hop on the legacy of Tupac Shakur. Archival making a featurette. This is a cinematograph release, so this is a I think it's just a Blu-ray. I thought it was a 4K. Not every cinematograph release is a 4K. Some are, some aren't. Let's see what else we've got here. So that is kind of everything I saw from Vinegar Syndrome proper. Yet again, not much time to really go over things. I didn't get to see anything in the Vice Academy set here from their VSA line. Let's go over to partner labels. Once again, I'll tell you, not a lot to say. I tried to dive into as many of these as I could last night. I started marathoning movies last night. I ended up getting like 5 or 6 in a row. So let's see. Let me just I'll list these off, and then we'll go into some of the ones that I did get to see, and some of the ones that I'm interested in just in general. So Zeros and Ones from Yellow Veil Pictures, Amico from Canny or Connie, never know how to say it. The Black Panther of Shaolin and the Black Six is being put out by AGFA. Bloody Creek is being put out by Saturn's Core. Chronicles of a Wandering Saint is being put out by Hope Runs High. Cold Journey is being put out by Canadian International Pictures. Commando Ninja 2 Invasion America being put out by ETR Media. Fire Will Come is being put out by Kim Stim. Fraud is being put out by Memory. I Am Not a Witch being put out by Film Movement. I Love You Forever is being put out by Utopia. Leela and the Wolves is being put out by Several Futures. The Painted Bird is being put out by IFC Films. Phantasma Tapes is being put out by Bleeding Skull. Psychotherapy, The Shallow Tale of a Writer Who Decided to Write About a Serial Killer is being put out by Brainstorm Media. Cinephobia Releasing is putting out Rent Free. Sea Fog is being put out by Film Movement. Sorry About the Demon is being put out by Shudder. And then The Third Wife is being put out by Film Movement. Okay. Like I said, didn't get to get into much of these, but I did watch Amico. Amico is a 66-minute feature film being put out by Connie, directed by Yoko Yamanaka. I think it's their first film. It's a Japanese film. It's a Japanese kind of coming of age film, kind of not really coming of age, but it's dealing with adolescence. It's dealing with first love. It's dealing with first crushes on a teenage level. The young Amiko is obsessed with her classmate Ayomi, a cool soccer player and Radiohead fan with whom she goes on a short but memorable stroll through the park. There begins a fixation that carries over the entire school year, a period during which she dares not speak to the boy, though she obsesses over him with every waking thought. So when he runs away to the big city to pursue his own life, Amiko becomes determined to find him and tell him how she really feels, on a journey that will take her from her her banal hometown of Nagano to the bustling anonymous streets of Tokyo. You get a sense of what the movie is about just from that description. It's like I said, it's a short film. It's 66 minutes long with credits, so more like an hour. And the movie is structurally is told in kind of short bursts and clips. It's not anthological, but like we go from time period to time period throughout the school year. Like we'll go from September to November to December, you know what I'm saying? And we'll move along the school year and we'll just get like flashes of this young girl's life. And not all of it is an obsession over this young boy that she now likes, but other things going on in her life. And it's just kind of a snapshot of like what young teenage people are doing or are into, if you will. But it does, reach this kind of head where she does go to Tokyo to confront this young boy, and it's told with such genuine innocence and such genuine naivete, like because in such genuine contemporary human behavior. You know what I mean? I think we can all remember how naive we were when we were younger, when we were teenagers, when it comes to first crushes or first romances or whatever the case may be. Teenagers are constantly kind of blowing things out of proportion, making them bigger than they are, making them being like an old world thing, if you will. And this movie is definitely commentating on that and exploring that idea. And it's a very genuine all world macro idea that I like that this film was exploring. Now, this movie is done on a very small shoestring budget. Like, I don't think they got any permits to shoot in public places types of budget. Very, like, almost handheld camera type of budget, if you will. So be prepared for that if you do want to check this movie out. It's called Amico. I rather enjoyed it for what it is. Let me move a couple of these around. Let's see what we got here for special features for Amico. High definition presentation with Region A Blu-ray, theatrical trailer, archival Q&A with director Yoko Yamanaka, and then there's a Q&A with director Yoko Yamanaka, moderated by Johnny Hahn from Metrograph from 2025, booklet with on-set photographs and writing from novelist Missouri Williams, new art from Dylan Halley. And that's the movie called Amico. Let's see, what else did I get to watch last night? Cold Journey. So right away, when I had a limited amount of time, I had to go to my old favorites. You know what I mean? I'm biased, obviously. We all have our biases, right? We all have our biases when it comes to everything, when it comes to collecting and the labels we like and the labels whatnot. I always go to Canadian International Pictures first and foremost. For the most cases, for most part, I check to see if I can find the movies to watch, and then I watch them. And you know what I mean? We were very fortunate enough to have the two guys who run Canadian International Pictures here on Chasing Labels once upon a time. So I always like to repay the favor by watching their stuff, by getting their stuff when I can, all that kind of thing. So this movie is fascinating. It's celebrating, I think it's 50th anniversary, or at least this is touted as a 50th anniversary edition. This is the movie called Cold Journey, put out by Canadian International Pictures. Fascinating movie. So 50th anniversary special edition, 15-year-old Buckley adventure. Let's see, is coming of age, torn between two worlds: his stifling experience in a residential school and his hunger for the old traditions of the reserve. But when he returns to visit his family over summer break, his distance from their way of life and even the Cree language is painfully apparent. So, if you haven't picked up on this already, this movie is dealing with Canadian Indigenous peoples, or just Indigenous peoples in general, right? And it's commentating on being torn between two worlds, being torn between the modern world and being torn between the more traditional Indigenous world. Let's see. During a disastrous stint living with a white foster family, Buckley deepens his bond with Johnny, a caretaker at the school who becomes a bridge to Indigenous history and community. Despite his fleeting connection, Buckley grows increasingly disaffected, and his alienation begins to sow the seeds of personal tragedy. Loosely inspired by the haunting true story of, I can't pronounce that. It says, loosely inspired by the haunting true story of Anishinaabe boy Cheney Charlie Wenjack, the sole fiction feature from National Film Board of Canada documentary veteran Martin DeFalco is both deeply empathetic and bracingly unsentimental, featuring a supporting performance by Chief Dan George and several songs by celebrated musician slash filmmaker Willie Dunn, Cold Journey remains an essential and withering portrait of Canada's now infamous residential school system and its devastating impact on First Nations youth. So, like I said, the movie's dealing with a lot of things that are um, almost prophetic in terms of our contemporary understanding of certain information, of the residential schools' treatment of Indigenous children, of their treatment of the Indigenous people, and all of the fallout of that. This movie is uh, commenting on that without probably intentionally commenting on it, just because we know a lot more now than we did probably 50 years ago when this movie came out in 1975. The movie only runs about 76 minutes, but it's an impactful film. It's an unpolished, rough around the edges presentation overall as a film, but its themes are there. Its stuff is there. Its exploration of Indigenous peoples and their themes are there. So and that's what makes it very, very important. Scanned and restored in 2K from the 35 millimeter, it's deposited by the National Film Board of Canada. New new audio commentary featuring Lawrence Dunn and Kevin Howes, producers of Creation Never Sleeps, Creation Never Dies, the William Dunn Anthology. The Unique Feeling, new interview with film historian Jesse Wendt. Willie's Journey, new interview with Lawrence Dunn and Kevin Howes. The Ballad of Crowfoot, musical short film directed by Willie Dunn with optional audio commentary featuring Lawrence Dunn and Kevin Howes. The Other Side of the Ledger, an Indian view of the Hudson's Bay Company, collaborative short film directed by Martin DeFalco and Willie Dunn. Sounds from Our People, Cold Journey, a bridge cut of the film made for children by Alanis Abomsawin. 4 additional short films by DeFalco in The Bird of Passage, Northern Fisherman, What in the World is Water, Charlie's Day. Double-sided poster, reversible cover art, and that is it for Cold Journey. This is a good one. This is a good one. Another one that's a good one that I got to watch is I Am Not a Witch. I Am Not a Witch is put out by Film Movement. Yes, put out by Film Movement. It is directed by Rungano Nioni, and it's a movie. I don't know why it says it's in English. There's a lot of. Let me see what it says here. See, in her BAFTA award-winning debut feature, Rungano Nioni crafts a satiric feminist fairy tale set in present-day Zambia. When 9-year-old orphan Shula is accused of witchcraft, she is exiled to a witch camp run by Mr. Banda, a corrupt and inept government official. Tied to the ground by a white ribbon, Shula is told she will turn into a goat if she tries to escape. As the only child witch, Shula quickly becomes a local star, and the adults around her exploit her supposed powers for financial gain. Soon she is forced to make a difficult decision whether to resign herself to life on the camp or take a risk for freedom. A hit at over 50 international film festivals, I Am Not a Witch is a must-see for anyone interested in new African cinema and contemporary female filmmakers. So yeah, this movie is incredibly important for what it's dealing with thematically when it comes to exploration of feminist themes, as well as misogynistic themes, as well as the exploitation of people from financial gain, specifically children, specifically fantastical things that seem ridiculous. Like, how can this child be a witch? And as the movie goes along, you see how ridiculous it is, and how it's only done for financial reasons. There's even comes a point where like they're on a talk show, and the talk show host is like, what if this young girl is not a witch? What if she's just a child? And the person and this inept, bumbling government official has no answer to that. Has no answer to it whatsoever. It's a fascinating movie, really fascinating. Let's see what we got here for special features. So, commentary by director Rungano Nioni, actress Maggie Mulubois, and associate producer Gabrielle Gauchette. Interview with director Rungano Nioni, short film Mwanza the Great by Rungano Nioni, 16-page booklet with an essay by critic Campbell. Campbell. Okay. It's called I Am Not a Witch, put out by Film Movement. Okay, Next, we've got the movie that's put out by several futures, which is called Leela and the Wolves. This is available to stream right now, as of right now, on the Criterion channel. This is a documentary, docudrama. I don't really know how quite to categorize this movie other than to say that it is an incredibly important film. It's a movie dealing with the history of Palestine and Lebanon within the 20th century from the perspective of women. And it's done so with like with the documentary perspective. It's done so with actual actors, like acting out certain scenes and things like that. But it's not like you see in certain documentaries where there are reenactments, if you will, or something like that. It's like actual like dialogue and scenes and plots and things like that that are that are intermingled with documentary stuff. It's a fascinating approach to this very interesting and important subject. So, drawing on the Arab heritage of the Arabian Nights, Leela and the Wolves combines fictional drama, archival footage, fantasy sequences, mosaic pattern to refute the colonial and male-dominated versions of history. Leela travels across time and space to explore the collective memory of Arab women in Palestine and Lebanon and their hidden role in historical events. Specifically, concentrating specifically on the 20th century. This movie came out in 1984, so it's really only covering things up until that point, which is fascinating to me as a history buff, as someone who has studied Middle Eastern history. Um, over the last 40 years, the history, the there's been monumental historical, world-changing uh, events that have involved the Middle East and the rest of the world, and the rest of the world in their relationship with the Middle East. It's all been very ever changing over the last 40 years. We all know this. If you've been alive in the last 40 years, hopefully you've picked up on this. It's there's been a lot happening in that area of the world as well as the rest of the world dealing with that area of the world and vice versa. A lot of things going on. So to see this movie being made in the mid 80s and then knowing everything that's come after the fact, it's fascinating to watch just because there's so much more to the grand story of all of this, and it's ever changing every single day. We know all this. History is ever changing. We're living in it now. We're living in these historical moments, and everything is changing, and we're all part of history in some way. We're all witnesses to it, if you will. And this movie is a fascinating look at women's role in history, particularly in that area of the world where I think we as a Western society have this idea that women are relatively relegated to lesser roles in that society. So to see this movie explore a more outward feminist, important, vital role through certain historical moments is fascinating to me. It's really, really great stuff. Like I said, it is streaming on the Criterion channel right now. It's called Leela and the Wolves. Came out in 1984. It's about 90 minutes long. The movie's in Arabic, so subtitles, of course. Unfortunately, I'm looking at the Blu-ray here. Not much in the way of special features. You get the Blu-ray in Region A. You get an interview with director Heini Sroor, and that's it. Just an interview with the director, nothing else. Which is kind of a shame because this movie is rather important. But yeah, that's Leela and the Wolves. Okay, so that is everything that I got to see for this week's for the Vinegar Syndrome and their partner labels haul. But I do want to point out some other releases that I'm definitely interested in that I would have watched had I had more time. You know what I mean? Hope Runs High is an interesting label. Chronicles of a Wandering Saint looked very interesting to me. I wanted to check that out. Fire Will Come by Kim Stim looked also very interesting to me as well. There's this movie called I Love You Forever. It is streaming on HBO Max right now, being put out by Utopia. I really wanted to see that. Let's see. Rent Free is an interesting documentary. Sea Fog being put out by Film Movement. Honestly, anything put out by Film Movement is worth a watch. The one thing I've learned about Film Movement now becoming a partner label is anything they've put out in the past or are currently re-releasing or putting out for the first time is at least worth a watch. It's at least worth a watch. And with that being said, I also wanted to watch The Third Wife too. That looked very fascinating to me as well. Um, IFC Films putting out The Painted Bird, something I wanted to see. Just a little something extra here. Um, oh, Phantasma Tapes has already sold out limited edition wise, and it had 1,000 units, so that's selling fast. Oh, I did get to see another movie here. So, Brainstorm Media Psychotherapy, the shallow tale of a writer who decided to write about a serial killer. Their limited editions are already sold out, and now they're down to standards. And this is a movie starring Steve Buscemi. It got Steve Buscemi, Britt Lauer, John Magaro, and Ali Haskivi. And this is an interesting, fascinating movie here. Let me see. A struggling writer is in the midst of a divorce, befriends a retired serial killer who incidentally becomes his marriage counselor by day and killing counselor for his next book by night. So, um, John Magaro and Britt Lauer being from the show Severance. Uh, they are a married couple going through some issues. Magaro is a struggling writer who's working on his next book about a serial killer, and he just so happens to come in contact with one portrayed by Steve Buscemi. But he can't like say that this guy is a serial killer, so he's got to play him off as, oh, this is the marriage counselor I want us to see. We're having trouble, and I need us. We should see a marriage counselor. So he becomes like their marriage counselor, uh, and also his counselor and like helper on writing his next book about a serial killer. It's kind of a dark comedy satire, if you will. I kind of rather liked it. I rather liked it. It just came out in 2024, so it's a relatively newish movie. But I'll watch anything with Steve Buscemi. That's what got me to watch it. But it already sold out of its. Yeah, the slipcover editions, there were only 500 of them, so they sold out rather quickly. So I wanted to mention that. So that's about it, guys. I'm worn out. I'm worn out. Um, oh man, I'm worn out. Let me see if there's anything else that I've got to talk about here before we get going. I just finished up the partner label stuff. Um, so if there's I know there hasn't been much in the way of comments tonight, so that's why I haven't really gone to them. I don't know if it's because of me streaming on a different night that people are not used to it, or if everybody's just busy. But um, yeah, just it's fine. If people are watching on the replay, that's totally cool with me. I don't mind at all as long as we get support in the views. I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it. Uh, let's see. Let me actually check the comments here one last time before we get going. Ba-ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-ba-bum. Let's see. Oh, we do have a comment. Illuminated Pro, what's up, man? Good to see you. You caught me right at the end. Right at the end of everything. Yeah, I've been streaming for about 3 hours. This is going to be a shorter episode than most. Usually this goes for about 4 hours. Maybe it's because there were just not a lot going for the last 2 weeks or so. Like I said, Kino didn't have a lot going. We got some slates earlier on. I didn't really get to dive into most of the Vinegar Syndrome and partner label stuff that I used to get into. I don't know. Things were pretty relaxed the last 2 weeks and what of the month or whatnot. But September has now arrived. The fall season is now here and upon us. So there's a lot of I'm hoping a lot of announcements for the rest of this month. I know for a fact that Imprint right now is announcing their next 4K UHD editions. They are announcing that they are coming out. Actually, they announced today that they're coming out with their own version of Jade, which um Jade, which just got a Vinegar Syndrome release. They're putting out their own version of it. Adam Schofield popped in. Sorry, tuned in late. We'll rewatch. The Strange Affair caught my eye. Not seen that for 45 years or so. You know what? We'll talk about that before we go because I didn't get to see it, but it's definitely something that I want to check out. Yeah, I've never seen The Strange Affair actually. So The Strange Affair is getting a VSL release or Vinegar Syndrome Labs release. Let's see, an early feature from prolific telefilm director David Green, who did I Start Counting, Rich Man, Poor Man. So I Start Counting is a Fun City Editions release. The Strange Affair combines the grit of U.S. police drama with English working class culture, delivering a strange update to the form with its multiple storylines and cynical eye on both pop culture and bureaucracy, featuring powerful performances from Michael York, who was in, they credit him here for Austin Powers, but he was in Murder on the Orient Express. He's also in The Three Musketeers and The Four Musketeers as D'Artagnan. Susan George, who was in Straw Dogs, and Jeremy Kemp, who was in Top Secret, and Dr. Terror's House of Horrors. It also boasts a stunning soundtrack by experimental composer Basil Kirchen, and photography from Alex Thompson, who did the photography on The Keep, the Michael Mann film. Vinegar Syndrome Labs is proud to offer the disc debut of this police thriller, newly restored in 4K from the original Techniscope negative. Oh, Techniscope. Let's see what we got here for special features. New scanned and restored in 4K from its 35mm original camera negative. Commentary track with filmmaker, film writer, and producer Kat Ellinger. Okay, like that immediately gets me to want this. Immediately. Swinging to London, a featurette with words by actor Michael York. Green Records, a making of documentary featuring interviews with the cast and crew. In Like Quince, an interview with actor David Glazer, and reversible sleeve artwork. Let's see. Yeah, that is Strange Affair. So, that is it. Let me just do a little. Oh, I do want to plug something else before we go. I do want to once again plug the merch store. The merch store. So Chasing Labels has a merch store now. And it's now up on Etsy. So if you go to Etsy, there should be a link down below. I don't know if it's there yet, but if it's not there yet, just go over to Etsy and look for, search for Chasing Labels or B-Roll Bandits. B-Roll Bandits is the overall kind of umbrella company that we're using. And we've got the Chasing Label shirts, we've got mugs, we've got tote bags, we have other movie adjacent merchandise there. Like there's a Michael Bay shirt that Steven designed. There's a M. Night Shyamalan shirt that Steven designed and whatnot. So that is available now. If you guys want to go over there and check that out, we just announced it the other night, actually. Like I think like Saturday night. So it's relatively new. Let's see. I think that's about it. Of course, if you want to find the audio version of this, it's available pretty much everywhere podcasts are found: Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, places like that. There's also an audio option here on YouTube now. There's an audio version up here now, and then there's the video version here, which is available too. So there's either way you can listen to it or just watch it, or however you want to consume the podcast, you can. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. And hey, keep on watching those movies because I know I will.